Welcome to Chinese Novel Audiobook. Chapter 21, The Demonic Which Really Doesn't Know How to Live and Die. Several days later. As expected, the 13 clones provided a total of 130 cultivation points daily. However, with the main body, Lu Yuan, and the clone, Chen Yang, only consuming 60 points daily, there were still 70 points available for allocation. Lu Yuan was unwilling to waste this rare resource, so he spent another 60 points of destiny to successfully refine 12 more clones. Including the one clone previously left in the strange blessed land, there were now 14 idle clones in that location. However, only 4 of these clones were focused on absorbing cultivation points. Lu Yuan intended to use the remaining 10 clones to refine Blood Demon Dao soldiers. During an outing to perform a task, the clone Chen Yang seized the opportunity to return to the strange blessed land. In the gloomy and strange blessed land, a peculiar aura permeated the air. However, Lu Yuan was already accustomed to it. Now that the Blood Demon coffin is in hand, let's start refining the Blood Demon Dao soldiers. Chen Yang muttered to himself, and Lu Yuan then controlled a clone to come forward. He manipulated the Dharma seals with his hands like phantoms, and the originally small blood demon coffin instantly began to expand and grow larger. Then, the coffin lid slowly opened, and the clone controlled by Lu Yuan, expressionless, jumped straight into it like a walking corpse. This clone, after absorbing cultivation points for several days, had already broken through to the second level of the profound gathering stage. After that, the Chen Yang clone immediately took action, reaching out and grabbing a clone that resembled Elder Ma. And with a sudden flash of cold light, the clone's head was separated from its body, and scalding blood sprayed onto the blood demon coffin like a fountain. Although the scene before him was extremely bloody, in Lu Yuan's eyes, it was nothing more than destiny or, rather, materials. He did this 10 times in a row, and these clones all resembled Elder Ma or Ma Debi. This approach reduced Lu Yuan's psychological burden when acting. With everything prepared, Chen Yang began to operate the refining method of the Blood Demon Dao soldiers. Lu Yuan's main body would naturally no longer study any demonic Dao profound techniques. After all, demonic Dao profound techniques were treacherous and unpredictable, and no one could guarantee whether there were hidden dangers within them. After the Chen Yang clone completed a series of refining steps, he dug a deep pit outside the entrance of the strange blessed land and slowly buried the blood coffin in it. It seemed that after only a month, the Blood Demon Dao soldiers should be successfully refined. With the strange blessed land, Lu Yuan was confident in completely controlling it. Early this morning, as the sky was just beginning to brighten, Chen Yang stood before the handyman's stone house, methodically arranging tasks. Looking back to a few months ago, he was just a low-level handyman disciple waiting to be dispatched, but now he had become a steward disciple responsible for arranging affairs. Moreover, he deeply realized that this job was extremely prone to breeding greed. The space for manipulation was enormous, and the handyman disciples were at his disposal. There were even female disciples who came to him late at night, Zhao Sheng claiming that they were suffering from illness and begging him to help solve it. Although the Chen Yang clone possessed the talent of not leaking but absorbing, it was difficult to control, and a slight carelessness could lead to a fatal accident, so he did not grant the female disciple's request. After arranging everything properly, Chen Yang returned to the handyman's office. At this time, the steward disciple of Jiazi Room also happened to return. She was a female cultivator, dressed in a well-tailored cyan and white zan robe, with a graceful demeanor. Her eyebrows and eyes seemed to contain a full spring, exuding a unique charm and allure of a young woman in every gesture. She was not the kind of stunning beauty that could topple kingdoms, but she was also outstanding in appearance. Coupled with this captivating temperament, ordinary mortal men would probably be instantly moved and unable to control themselves upon seeing her. The woman looked at Chen Yang in the distance with a smile. After a few days of getting along, the Chen Yang clone naturally knew that this woman was called Wu Qingqing, and her cultivation had reached the 5th level of the profound gathering stage. She was usually overly enthusiastic and proactive, and Chen Yang could understand the reason after a little thought. The previous steward disciple, Qian Wei, had always lacked interest in the female disciples in the handyman's office, and his cultivation had been slow to improve. The entanglements within were self-evident. "Junior brother Chen, you're back so soon." Wu Qingqing went straight to the point, without any delay. "Do you agree to what I mentioned before?" Wu Qingqing had long been fond of the handsome Chen Yang, but Chen Yang's seemingly rigid personality really made her feel a little helpless. After saying that, she gently reached out and took Chen Yang's arm, and the softness of her chest intentionally or unintentionally pressed against his upper arm. Senior Sister Wu, I hope you can find someone else. I really have no interest in this matter. In fact, it was not that Chen Yang's heart was like still water, but that the outer disciples were more precious than the handyman disciples. If he accidentally absorbed them to death, it might cause a catastrophe, and this clone might even lose its life. The smiling eyes of Wu Qingqing gradually revealed a hint of contempt at this moment, and she chuckled. Could it be that junior brother Chen is unable to do it? Senior sister is joking. After Chen Yang said that, he turned around and wanted to return to his wooden house. Unexpectedly, Wu Qingqing forcibly broke in. With a wave of her jade hand, a Zan technique like a thin golden rope flashed, instantly binding and restraining Chen Yang. Chen Yang really didn't expect that this Wu Qingqing would be so bold. This was within the sect, and the consequences of an outer disciple attacking another outer disciple privately were unimaginable. Junior brother, senior sister will definitely make you feel like you're in heaven, extremely comfortable. A ray of sunlight shone through the window, reflecting on Wu Qingqing's face, making her pretty face even more delicate, even more charming than that Lu Yan. The natural charm between her eyebrows and eyes was the unique allure brought about by her years of practicing dual cultivation Zan techniques. This demon woman's Zan cultivation strength was really extraordinary, and Chen Yang was careless for a moment and was successfully bound by her. However, this was still difficult for Chen Yang. In an instant, a sharp sword light flashed. This was the righteousness extinguishing sword technique that Chen Yang cultivated. How is that possible? Wu Qingqing was surprised. She never thought that Chen Yang would be so powerful. So you cultivated the righteousness extinguishing sword, no wonder you are so unromantic. But junior brother, senior sister still advises you, don't suppress yourself, release it in due time, otherwise you may go into chi deviation when practicing the sword. At this time, a sense of killing intent surged in Chen Yang's heart, and he even thought of directly sucking Wu Qingqing dry. After all, it was she who was pressing him step by step, almost seeking death. But after thinking about it, after sucking Lu Yan dry last time, he almost burst himself, and Wu Qingqing's cultivation was even at the 5th level of the profound gathering stage. If he wanted to act, he must first master a dual cultivation method to be safe. He scolded angrily, "Get out! You old woman!" In fact, Wu Qingqing was over 50 years old, although at first glance, she looked like a young woman of 16 or 17, both her appearance and skin were as delicate as ever. However, if you look closely, you can still capture some traces of maturity left by the years between her eyebrows and eyes. Women have always been most afraid of others saying that they are old. Wu Qingqing glared at Chen Yang viciously, but seeing the cold light flashing in his hand, she finally left dejectedly. These demonic Dao Yaonu are really ignorant of life and death. It seems that I have to find a dual cultivation demonic technique as soon as possible to properly rectify them. Chen Yang looked at Wu Qingqing's departing back, secretly planning in his heart. Chapter 22 Solution. In the bustling and noisy Nanline Bazaar, a place under the jurisdiction of the righteous Star Sword sect, the prosperous scene is truly admirable. Streets and alleys are filled with cultivators coming and going, while ordinary mortals also live and work here in peace and contentment. Two inconspicuous figures, covered in dust, strolled in. They appeared to be ordinary mortals, but in reality, they were Lu Yuan's conscious-controlled clones, Hiwei and Hiyang. Hiwei looked only 15 or 16 years old and possessed no cultivation. Hiyang, on the other hand, was at the 2nd level of Jushuan, but he concealed his cultivation level. The two leisurely strolled around the bazaar, and couldn't help but sigh. The bazaar under the Star Sword sect's rule is indeed prosperous, far surpassing that of the Corpse Demon sect. The main body, Lu Yuan, having received modern civilization education, adapted quickly to this orderly and vibrant place. At this moment, a magnificent and exquisitely decorated mansion appeared before Hiwei. Looking up, a plaque hung high above the mansion gate, with 5 large characters written on it, Star Sword Sect Branch. On the side of the mansion, a conspicuous notice was posted, clearly stating that the Star Sword Sect was currently recruiting disciples. This discovery was exactly what Lu Yuan wanted, so he controlled the Hiwei clone and strode into it without hesitation, while Hiyang found a place to rest. Upon entering the branch, Hiwei saw many young cultivators waiting in line for assessment. He silently stood at the end of the line, observing the expressions and behaviors of the people around him. When it was Hiwei's turn, the Star Sword sect disciple in charge of the assessment sized him up, his eyes full of scrutiny. "Do you have any cultivation foundation?" the Star Sword sect disciple asked. "No," Hiwei answered frankly. After all, Having no cultivation, he was not afraid of exposing his identity as a disciple of the demon sect. Moreover, he looked extremely ordinary, with no demonic aura whatsoever. "How old are you?" The Star Sword sect disciple nodded slightly and then asked. 16 years old. "Where are you from?" "A person from the Chuyuan mountain area." "Oh, are you a villager persecuted by demonic cultivators?" He Wei, relying on the knowledge from Lu Yuan's main body's memory and what he had seen and heard along the way, answered fluently. The Chuyuan mountain area was precisely a mortal living area on the edge of the relic of the demon-subduing mysterious sect. On the way here, he had encountered many fleeing villagers. When the Star Sword sect disciple asked this, He Wei showed a sad expression, his eyes reddened, and he sobbed in a trembling voice, "My family lives in Chuyuan mountain, near Mo village. We had a house and fields, and life was boundless. Who knew that the demonic cultivators would be so ruthless and merciless, relying on their cultivation to disregard the heavens, attacking the village and slaughtering indiscriminately? My grandfather, grandmother, father, and mother all died in front of me to protect me. I will remember this hatred in my heart and will never coexist with the demonic path." Hearing this, and seeing He Wei's tragic expression, the Star Sword sect disciple couldn't help but be moved. He nodded and gently patted him on the shoulder. "Grieve in peace, let's continue with the bone structure test." He Wei remained calm on the surface, but his heart was slightly disturbed. "Yes, senior brother." He Wei followed the Star Sword sect disciple to the place where the bone structure test was conducted. A huge stone emitting white light stood in the center, covered with ancient runes, exuding an aura of profound power. There were still people waiting in line for the test ahead. When a gloomy-looking man stepped forward to take the test, in an instant, the giant stone shone brightly with green light, and the surrounding runes seemed to come alive and move. The Star Sword sect disciple's eyes instantly flashed with a fierce light. "He is a spy sent by the demonic path, kill him." The surrounding Star Sword sect disciples reacted quickly, immediately stepping forward to break the gloomy man's limbs in one smooth motion. The leading Star Sword sect disciple ordered, "Take him down for severe torture and ask which demon sect's Zon cultivator he is." Yes. Several disciples accepted the order and took the man away. Witnessing this scene, many of the people who came to test revealed fear. As the atmosphere eased slightly, the Star Sword sect disciple next to He Wei smiled and tried to comfort him. "You weren't scared, were you? He was just a spy sent by the demonic path, trying to hide his cultivation and pass the test. He was simply dreaming." This smile seemed a little eerie to He Wei at this moment. "I was a little scared, but these demonic Zon cultivators deserve to die." He Wei replied, pretending to be calm. "Haha, all right, it's your turn." He Wei took a deep breath and slowly stepped forward, extending his hand. The giant stone flickered slightly, and his heart thumped. Suddenly, his heartbeat accelerated, but he still tried to maintain a calm expression on his face. After a moment, the light stabilized. The Star Sword sect disciple who brought He Wei in frowned slightly, revealing a hint of disappointment, but still said with a smile, "Inferior bone structure, barely able to cultivate, go inside and wait." "Yes, senior brother." He Wei hurriedly bowed and thanked him, secretly rejoicing that he had successfully deceived them and could now lurk in the Star Sword sect. Of course, although the Star Sword sect was a righteous sect, it was extremely ruthless towards the demonic path, and there might be other testing methods. Comma comma. Comma comma. Comma comma. In the bazaar at the foot of Corpse Demon Sect Mountain, Chen Yang's clone arrived at a shop selling Zon techniques. He had already cultivated the body tempering skill and was already plagued by the hidden dangers of demonic techniques, so he had no worries and had no scruples when choosing techniques. Seeing this, a male shop assistant enthusiastically stepped forward to inquire about Chen Yang. "Hello, may I ask what kind of dual cultivation technique you need? Our shop has a wide variety of techniques, and I'm sure we have what you need." A hint of curiosity flashed in Chen Yang's eyes, and he asked, "What kind of dual cultivation techniques do you have?" The male shop assistant's face was full of smiles, and he introduced in detail. "We have the essence plucking skill, which can help cultivators more efficiently collect the essence of cauldrons. The absorption art, which enables Zon cultivators to quickly refine the Yuan Yin cultivation obtained from cauldrons. The Tao harmonizing replenishment method, which allows you and your partner to mutually benefit during dual cultivation. The double harmony wonderful skill, which can enhance the tacit understanding between you and your partner, thereby jointly improving your cultivation. The joint cultivation gathering Yuan method, which allows you to practice with multiple fellow cultivators at once, gathering vitality and experiencing the joy of a great communal sleep." Chen Yang frowned slightly, thought for a moment, and asked, What are the unique features of each of these techniques? Seeing that Chen Yang was interested, the male shop assistant became even more energetic. The essence plucking skill focuses on the collection of vitality, is extremely domineering, and is quite suitable for those who are new to dual cultivation. The absorption art focuses on the refining of Zan Qi, ensuring that Zan cultivators will not be damaged by excess Yuan Yin cultivation after dual cultivation, and can frequently engage in dual cultivation after digestion. The Tao harmonizing replenishment method emphasizes the mutual progress of both parties. The double harmony wonderful skill emphasizes enhancing the tacit understanding between each other. The joint cultivation gathering Yuan method allows you to cultivate with multiple cauldrons at once, quickly gathering a large amount of vitality. Chen Yang nodded, weighed it in his mind, and said, "They all sound quite exquisite, but I'm more interested in the absorption art, so I'll take this one." The male shop assistant replied with a smile, "You have a good eye, sir. The absorption art is indeed a very popular technique. It allows you to practice dual cultivation frequently without any worries. I will get the absorption art for you, please wait a moment." The absorption art could quickly digest Yuan Yin cultivation. This alone made it difficult for Chen Yang's clone to refuse. Relying on his own talent, no leakage reverse absorption, he did not need too many complicated techniques. The key was whether he could digest it well, which was not related to the frequent dual cultivation mentioned by the shop assistant. Chapter 23 Breakthrough to the 5th level of Jushuan. Wooden house in the miscellaneous affairs office. Chen Yang had just finished cultivating the nascent absorption art when Wu Qingqing came to his door again. Regarding this demonic woman from the demon sect, Lu Yuan in the strange blessed land was speechless. Seeking dual cultivation seemed to be their way of survival. Life is short, we should enjoy it while we can. Senior sister will bring you happiness, Wu Qingqing said with a seductive laugh. Perhaps because Chen Yang didn't report her to the sect after she attacked him last time, she felt there was an opportunity. This time, she was clearly well prepared, taking out a chain-type Zan treasure and instantly binding Chen Yang, seemingly planning to act by force. This time, Chen Yang's clone didn't refuse, slowly closing his eyes and pretending to be reluctant. Seeing Chen Yang's reaction, Wu Qingqing narrowed her eyes slightly, a trace of contemplation flashing in her pupils, as if she was secretly calculating something. After a moment, accompanied by a soft rustling of clothes, Wu Qingqing got close to Chen Yang. After completing the final step, Wu Qingqing began to circulate the dual cultivation technique, which was actually the domineering essence extraction art. If it were other disciples, they would probably be sucked dry under such fierce circulation. At this moment, Chen Yang's talent, no leakage, reverse absorption, activated. Wu Qingqing's expression changed drastically, wanting to break free, but the chains binding her were instantly cut off by Chen Yang with the extinction righteousness sword technique. Chen Yang took the opportunity to hug her, and Wu Qingqing exclaimed, "Your extinction righteousness sword has become stronger again." At this moment, she realized that she might have tried to steal a chicken but lost the rice instead. Under Chen Yang's absorption, Wu Qingqing's aura became increasingly weak. Feeling her life constantly draining away, she finally begged for mercy, "Junior brother, let me go. Senior sister, I wanted to let you go, but you kept pressing me." Chen Yang's clone was immersed in the process of absorbing cultivation, ignoring her pleas. "Junior brother, let me go, I'll tell you a secret," Wu Qingqing said weakly. "What secret?" Wu Qingqing leaned close to Chen Yang's ear and whispered breathlessly, "It's." Suddenly, she bit Chen Yang's ear. Chen Yang's clone felt pain and relaxed for a moment. When he came back to his senses, Wu Qingqing was gone. However, Chen Yang didn't care. After all, he had already absorbed most of her cultivation. A day later, Chen Yang relied on the cultivation absorbed through dual cultivation to successfully enter the late stage of the 5th layer of profound gathering. This time, he didn't waste any time, and with the help of daily cultivation points, he soon successfully entered the 6th layer of profound gathering. However, he still secretly hid some of his cultivation, the reason being that the breakthrough was too fast. At the same time, Chen Yang planned to start cultivating new outer sect disciples. As for Wu Qingqing, she hadn't launched a revenge attack since then, perhaps waiting for the right opportunity. During this time, Chen Yang also learned about the method to continue improving the living corpse Tao soldiers, which was to ascend to a higher level corpse refining platform for refining. The whole process would take 81 days. However, for the Tao soldiers, this would be endless pain, extremely testing their will. In the strange blessed land, Lu Yuan had already stopped cultivating the body forging technique. He relied on cultivation points every day, focusing his main energy on controlling his clones, with the main focus being the clone He Wei and living corpse 42-6. Lu Yuan, who was sitting cross-legged, suddenly received a message in his mind. Breakthrough to the 5th layer of Qi gathering. Lu Yuan was delighted, and the information on his iris also changed. Lord of the strange blessed land, Lu Yuan. Lifespan, 1656. Talent, none can share lifespan with clones. Realm, profound gathering 5th layer 2/800ths can absorb clone cultivation to improve. Bone structure, inferior grade can consume lifespan to obtain from clones. Cultivation technique, body forging technique can consume lifespan to obtain from clones. Spell, none can share lifespan with clones. Profound gathering 1st layer clones, 12. Profound gathering 2nd layer clones, 4. Profound gathering 3rd layer clones, none. Profound gathering 4th layer clones, none. Profound gathering 5th layer clones, none. Profound gathering 6th layer clones, Chenyang 101,600ths 42-6 Lifespan, 36 points. Finally broke through to the 5th layer of Qi gathering. During this time, the Chenyang clone has been secretly searching for a way to solve the hidden dangers of the cultivation technique, but to no avail. As soon as I discuss this issue with disciples or elders, they clam up and don't talk about solutions. Is there really no solution? This is too difficult. Does the solution really have to be going to the Xuanming Holy Land? But to go, I must become a true disciple. It seems I can only pin my hopes on the righteous clones, to see if they can find a solution. Lu Yuan pondered and sighed. After Chen Yang became a steward disciple, he could indeed know more information. Just like the fact that the corpse demon sect is a branch of the Xuanming Holy Land, outer sect disciples with qualifications have heard of it, and when talking about solving the hidden dangers of the cultivation technique, they will always mention the Xuanming Holy Land intentionally or unintentionally. However, Lu Yuan also found a new solution. As long as there are always clones in the blood pool of the corpse refining platform providing cultivation points, he will not have to worry about his life, and he will not die even if he no longer cultivates the demonic technique. It's just that when he reaches a cultivation bottleneck, he still needs subsequent cultivation techniques to break through. After a brief joy, Lu Yuan's consciousness descended to the He Wei clone. Comma comma, comma comma, comma comma. Amidst the swirling clouds and mist, pavilions and jade buildings loomed, cranes circled in the air, and bursts of melodious immortal music carried on the wind, permeating the mountains with an ethereal air. A flying boat slowly approached. A Star Sword sect disciple on the boat was smiling and saying, "Junior brothers, this is the Star Sword sect's Tao field. As disciples of the Star Sword sect, everyone must take the elimination of demons and the upholding of justice as their responsibility. Look around you, everywhere is peaceful and harmonious, all the result of our righteous efforts." The disciples were sitting cross-legged, listening attentively. Among them, a new disciple said, "Senior brother is right. On the way here, wherever I saw, the people lived and worked in peace and contentment. I truly felt the joy of living under the rule of the righteous path." The disciple continued, "Not only that, but the brothers and sisters within the sect are also fraternal and respectful, helping each other. If you encounter difficulties in your cultivation, please feel free to ask, and there will surely be senior brothers and sisters who will impart their knowledge wholeheartedly. All right, everyone prepare yourselves, we're about to disembark." The Star Sword sect disciple instructed. Among the crowd, He Wei, who originally had a dull gaze, suddenly regained his spirituality in his eyes. The flying boat landed steadily, and the crowd arrived at an open square, where many newly entered disciples were already waiting. An elder with white hair but vigorous spirit stood on a high platform and said in a loud voice, "Today, you have joined my Star Sword sect, and you are the new force of my Star Sword sect. Next, you will be assigned to different halls according to your bone structure and aptitude." After a series of procedures, it was He Wei's turn. The elder looked him up and down and said, "Your bone structure is of inferior grade. Go to the medicine hall and be a menial disciple." He Wei respectfully saluted, "Thank you for the elder's arrangement." Afterwards, He Wei followed the deacon of the medicine hall to the medicine hall. The deacon led him to a library and said, "This is where the medicine hall stores cultivation techniques. You can choose a technique suitable for you to try to cultivate." He Wei stepped into the library and randomly picked a technique called the Azure Wood Profound Art. Regarding the righteous path techniques, Lu Yuan felt that anything would do. Since there was no soul fragment for him to control and cultivate, he could only choose a simpler one. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 24. Avoid falling off a cliff. Night fell, and the residences of the clerical disciples beside the medicine hall were quiet and peaceful. Moonlight, like water, spilled over the scattered houses. Flowers and trees surrounded the area, and the delicate fragrance of blossoms permeated the air. Compared to the gloomy and oppressive environment of the corpse demon sect, this place was simply too good. Exquisite pavilions, tidy paths, and the occasional chirping of insects seemed to weave a serene nocturne. In Lu Yuan's view, the clerical disciples of the Star Sword sect were no different in status from the handyman disciples of the corpse demon sect, both were at the very bottom. But as a righteous sect, the clerical disciples of the Star Sword sect lived a more comfortable life. Although Lu Yuan was in a strange blessed land, he could still freely control He Wei's clone to cultivate, operating the Azure Wood mystic art. However, even after spending a day entering the Azure Wood mystic art, this clone still failed to become a mystic cultivator, evidently due to its mediocre aptitude. At this moment, facing such a situation, Lu Yuan had a way to choose. He could use cultivation points to improve He Wei's clone's realm, but once improved, if a demonic mystic cultivator's aura appeared, survival in this Star Sword sect would become extremely difficult. No matter which sect it is, if you want to be cultivated quickly, you have to rely on talent. Only by raising your status can you learn more secrets. Even if He Wei's clone is inadvertently exposed, all that's lost is some fate. To hell with it, let's try. After thinking it over again and again, Lu Yuan resolutely poured cultivation points into He Wei's clone. For 2 consecutive days, continuously pouring in points, after consuming only 60 cultivation points, He Wei's clone finally broke through to the first layer of Gathering Profound. Lu Yuan immediately observed carefully, trying to discover the differences in He Wei. To his surprise, whether it was the circulating mystic power or the external temperament, there was not the slightest demonic aura. Of course, he was also clear that he couldn't rule out the possibility that high-level mystic cultivators might be able to detect something unusual. But Lu Yuan still had a lot of confidence in the strange blessed land's ability. The Star Sword sect gave the new disciples 5 days to cultivate. Lu Yuan deliberately controlled the cultivation points given to He Wei, keeping him at the first layer of Gathering Profound. He acted this way only to avoid attracting too much attention. 5 days passed, and He Wei began to work in the medicine hall. The daily work of the clerical disciples in the medicine hall was nothing more than recognizing and drying herbs. Although it was hard work, it was much better than the environment of the corpse demon sect, and the atmosphere here was relatively fair. No one could enjoy special privileges. Gradually, He Wei began to adapt to the work here. However, the peaceful days did not last long. One day, the Star Sword sect suddenly went on alert, and an oppressive atmosphere enveloped the entire sect like dark clouds. The disciples were in a hurry, and the peace of the past was no longer present. Just 1 day later, news suddenly spread within the Star Sword sect that a mind inquiry and purge would be conducted on the disciples. He Wei's heart tightened. He knew that once he was purged, his identity might be exposed. On the day of the mind inquiry and purge, on the large martial arts field, the disciples were arranged neatly in rows, and the atmosphere was so tense that it felt like water could be wrung out of it. The elder in charge of the purge held an ancient bronze mirror in his hand, and his expression was solemn as he shuttled among the disciples. The bronze mirror shone with light, seemingly able to see into people's hearts. When it was He Wei's turn, the elder's eyes were like torches, staring at him as he asked, "What is your purpose in entering my Star Sword sect? Have you ever had any ulterior motives in your heart? Are you a demonic spy?" He Wei pretended to be calm, lowered his head, and replied, "This disciple is wholeheartedly bent on revenge against the demonic path, and is willing to serve the Star Sword sect. I have no ulterior motives. I am not a demonic spy." The elder narrowed his eyes slightly, and the light in his hand shone brightly, directly illuminating He Wei. Just when He Wei thought he was about to be exposed, the light in the bronze mirror suddenly flickered erratically. After a moment, it returned to calm. The elder frowned, thought for a moment, and then nodded, "Past the mind inquiry, next." He Wei was secretly pleased, but on the surface, he still respectfully retreated to the side. In fact, when the ancient bronze mirror was checking He Wei, Lu Yuan in the strange blessed land immediately detached his consciousness from He Wei's body, so naturally it was impossible to detect any ulterior motives. Actually, Lu Yuan estimated that even if he didn't detach his consciousness, there shouldn't be any problems with the strange blessed land, but he was just being more cautious. During the mind inquiry of the other disciples, He Wei discovered a familiar person, Wu Ming, who had been transmitting messages to Chen Yang on the battlefield that day. He was a demonic spy. Unexpectedly, he also escaped the mind inquiry of this bronze mirror. This bronze mirror is useless, not rigorous at all. Just as Lu Yuan was complaining, several demonic spies were found out, all of whom were disciples of the Shadow Death sect, and their limbs were broken and taken away. Lu Yuan in the strange blessed land breathed a sigh of relief and put most of his energy on the living puppet seer Lu. Comma comma. Comma comma. Comma comma. In the mountains and forests, a figure was darting around rapidly like a frightened bird. Behind her, a group of Star Sword sect disciples were chasing closely. The stern sword energy was like a substance, following her like a shadow, as if to crush her instantly. While fleeing in a sorry state, Chu Jing couldn't help but curse, "That useless living puppet seer Lu, he's nowhere to be seen at a critical moment, ruining my important affairs." As she was speaking, Chu Jing was careless, and the ground beneath her feet suddenly collapsed without warning. She exclaimed in surprise. It turned out to be a cliff, and her whole body fell straight down. In the midst of the panic, the Star Sword sect disciples who were closely following behind were unable to dodge and fell down together. "It's over, it's over." Chu Jing only felt the wind whistling in her ears, and her heart was filled with despair. However, fate seemed to be playing a joke at this moment. At this critical moment, Seer Lu appeared like a ghost and reached out to pull Chu Jing up. "I didn't expect you to still know how to protect your master." Chu Jing couldn't help but complain. Seer Lu remained silent. In fact, saving this enchantress Chu Jing was just Lu Yuan's way of having her attract more firepower. At this moment, a figure with a dazzling light, as dazzling as the scorching sun, appeared out of thin air. This person stepped on the void, his whole body exuding a majestic aura, fully displaying the demeanor of a heavenly genius. He was actually a completion palace expert. Long Yinzi, you actually came out in person for such a small character like me." For a moment, both Chu Jing and Seer Lu were stunned. Fortunately, Seer Lu reacted extremely quickly, picked up Chu Jing, and fell towards the cliff. Seeing this, a trace of strangeness flashed in Long Yinzi's indifferent eyes. This living puppet's reaction is quite fast. He was about to fly towards the cliff to continue the pursuit, but suddenly stabilized his figure. "Damn it, the formation has been triggered." Long Yinzi muttered to himself, "Impossible, this enchantress who knew the news has been chased and killed by me all along, and it's impossible to pass the news out." Then, he left quickly. Chu Jing and Seer Lu did not fall directly to the bottom of the valley, but were buffered by some vines and branches in the middle, and after rolling down a distance along the mountain, they finally landed on a hidden stone step. A slight deviation would have caused them to fall off the cliff, just like those Star Sword sect disciples. Chu Jing slowly got up and vigilantly looked around, discovering that Seer Lu was also not far away. The two looked around and found themselves in front of a mountain cave. Light flickered inside the cave, obviously containing extraordinary things. "Come over and help me," Chu Jing ordered imperiously. However, the living puppet Seer Lu ignored her and walked into the mountain cave on his own. They saw Zon crystals inlaid on the cave walls, emitting a soft light, and in the center of the cave, a fairy grass was swaying gently. The spiritual energy around the fairy grass was so rich that it seemed to materialize. It was obviously a rare treasure of heaven and earth. We're rich, it's actually a spiritual medicine." Chu Jing was overjoyed. Lu Yuan, who was far away in the strange blessed land, was not very surprised. He thought to himself, "This Chu Jing's luck is really too good. She has calculated every step of the way, and not only has she been able to escape the pursuit of powerful completion palace geniuses, but she has also picked up a lot of Zon crystals. Every time she has an accident, she can encounter treasures. Could this enchantress be the child of luck?" At this time, Chu Jing couldn't wait to pull out the spiritual medicine by the roots and put it into her mouth to swallow. Seer Lu did not try to snatch the spiritual medicine. After all, as a living puppet, medicine could not bring him improvement, and Chu Jing's recovery of strength would be more conducive to escaping the current dangerous situation. Behind the spiritual medicine, there were also some jade slips, storage bags, etc. Lu Yuan immediately understood that this should be a strong man's cave. Chapter 25. Dual cultivation without responsibility. Da. More than 2 months had passed since the Corpse Demon sect launched its war. At this moment, a charming figure riding a horse-shaped Zon beast appeared at the entrance of the Corpse Demon sect's market. After showing her identity token, this person went straight into the market. It was Chu Jing, who had brought Seer Lu. That day in the cave, While Chu Jing was refining the spiritual medicine, Lu Yuan manipulated the living puppet clone and quietly collected the most precious storage bag among the Zan objects placed there. After Chu Jing finished refining the spiritual medicine, she plundered all the Xuanling resources in the strong man's cave. After another 10 days of travel, Chu Jing also successfully broke through to the 5th level of Jushuan, and relying on the inheritance of that cave, she controlled a Zan beast, which allowed her to return to the corpse demon sect so quickly. It was also a coincidence that Chu Jing saw a familiar figure just a few steps after entering the market. Chen Yang also saw this charming and beautiful figure from afar, but directly chose to ignore her, and instead walked to see Lu's side and began to size him up. Chu Jing tilted her head and said, "Oh, who is this? Still obsessed with the Dao soldier you can't get?" Chen Yang complained, "You're still alive. That's really not easy. Get lost, can you talk?" After Chu Jing finished speaking, she raised her foot and left. However, the living puppet Seer Lu Dao soldier did not follow. Chu Jing was quite helpless. This Seer Lu never listened to her orders. If Chen Yang found out, he would definitely be ridiculed. Helpless, she had no choice but to continue saying, "Chen Yang, don't think that just because you came back earlier than me, you can be complacent. I have already entered the 5th level of Jushuan. Wait for me to deal with you." Oh, amazing. Chen Yang's clone, through Lu Yuan, had actually known about this for a long time. The purpose of coming here this time was actually to deliberately create an encounter. The purpose was to hand over the storage bag obtained by the living puppet clone Seer Lu in that strong man's cave. The two secretly completed the handover. Chu Jing did not notice. Chen Yang didn't say much, turned around and left, heading towards the outside of the market. And Chen Yang also had a task for this trip. The more important thing was that the blood demon Dao soldier had been refined. Comma comma, comma comma, comma comma. In the weird blessed land, Lu Yuan had already tried to descend his consciousness onto that blood demon clone, but after witnessing many creepy demonic methods, he always harbored deep vigilance. He planned to let Chen Yang's clone excavate it. After a while, Chen Yang's clone arrived, threw the storage bag into the weird blessed land, and then came to the place where the blood demon coffin was located and began to carefully excavate. As the soil was removed bit by bit, the blood demon coffin gradually emerged, and demonic energy leaked out, making the surrounding air turn dark red. The coffin was surrounded by blood, like blood-colored poisonous snakes swimming around. If Lu Yuan were to excavate it, with his cultivation, this rich blood energy might instantly invade his body. At that time, at best, he might get a serious illness and his body would be weak. At worst, he might be directly disabled and his cultivation would be completely destroyed. Finally, the blood demon coffin was completely dug out. Chen Yang's clone grabbed the coffin with both hands and stepped into the weird blessed land with it. With a thought from Lu Yuan, Chen Yang's clone activated the magic, slowly opened the coffin. In an instant, a powerful and evil aura rushed towards him, accompanied by a chilling roar. The blood demon was born. The blood demon's figure was similar to Chen Yang's, but his body exuded a strange red light, and his eyes were like two burning blood flames, revealing endless ferocity. The Zan power on the blood demon's body was astonishingly powerful. Just standing in front of him, Lu Yuan could clearly feel that this Zan power had reached the 7th level of Jushuan. Lu Yuan was surprised, he frowned and fell into deep thought. After thinking for a while, he believed that it might be because he used a clone with the same bloodline as this blood demon to cultivate, that the blood demon's strength was improved. After all, even the closest relatives were far inferior in bloodline compared to the clones created by this bulb tree. At this moment, Chen Yang's clone chanted words, performing the Zan technique to control the blood demon Dao soldier, trying to control the blood demon. The blood demon had no expression, entered the blood demon coffin, and the coffin slowly shrank, eventually becoming like a red light and shadow, and was put into Chen Yang's clone's arms. Unlike the living puppet Dao soldier, the blood demon Dao soldier could have no self-awareness. Of course, it could also have it all depended on the refiner's thoughts. For Lu Yuan, this blood demon Dao soldier could be controlled by Chen Yang's clone, and he didn't need to spend energy. In this way, he also had a late-stage Jushuan trump card. Comma comma, comma comma, comma comma. In the lively and desolate market of the corpse demon sect, a strange sound occasionally came out. Chen Yang led 10 trembling mortals, slowly walking over. These 10 mortals were the new disciples he purchased for the sect. The so-called purchase was actually no different from snatching. Of course, Chen Yang didn't snatch them, these were all clones. Recently, half of the clones in the corpse refining Dao platform had been lost, and it was indeed time to replenish new people. Regarding the death of the clones, Yuan only felt that he had lost lifespan. Constantly refining clones, he felt that the acquisition of lifespan was a bit slow. This was also something that couldn't be helped. After all, no clones participated in the war. Originally, the fleeing living puppet Dao soldier Si'er Lu could still get some every day, but now he has returned to the sect, and naturally there is no way to acquire lifespan. Chen Yang led the clones forward, passing by a rather conspicuous pavilion. This was a rare, luxuriously decorated pavilion in the market. The lights shone through the gauze windows, emitting an ambiguous halo. On the pavilion, graceful beauties stood by the railings, throwing winks at the passing Zon cultivators, and said in a delicate voice, "Master, come and play." Chen Yang naturally knew that this was the corpse demon sect's pleasure place, Smiling Spring Hall. He inadvertently raised his eyes and actually saw an acquaintance among them. Wu Qingqing. Chen Yang's eyes were full of doubt, and he couldn't help but ask, "Senior Sister Wu, have you fallen to doing this?" Wu Qingqing originally wanted to pretend not to see Chen Yang. Since the last time she tried to steal a chicken but lost the rice, she knew she was in the wrong, and she had no face to report this to the sect. After Chen Yang called out, she glanced at Chen Yang resentfully, and said full of blame, "Isn't it because of you? I lost most of my cultivation. In order to complete the sect's task, I can only come here to earn some cultivation to improve myself." Smiling Spring Hall in the Corpse Demon sect is considered a relatively strict hall. Those who come here are not only outer disciples but even some inner disciples. It is completely because it is very safe to practice dual cultivation here. The Zon cultivators who work here can earn Zon crystals and also rely on practicing dual cultivation with others to obtain cultivation. However, the requirement is that you cannot drain the disciples who come to seek pleasure. As for how much you absorb, you must have the consent of the disciples who come to seek pleasure. The control is very strict. Once you violate the rules and ruin the reputation of Smiling Spring Hall, the people who work here may pay the price of their lives. However, there is also a kind of no-responsibility dual cultivation that is excluded. Chen Yang looked blank and asked, "Me? How did I harm you like this?" Wu Qingqing glared her eyes angrily and said unhappily, "I have to admire, your dual cultivation method is indeed very powerful." Chen Yang's mouth raised slightly, and he said playfully, "It's really not my fault. By the way, senior sister, do you dare to fight me again?" A trace of gloom flashed in Wu Qingqing's eyes, and after thinking for a moment, she asked provocatively, "Your dual cultivation method is indeed a bit tricky, but do you dare to challenge the famous prostitute of Smiling Spring Hall, and have a no-responsibility dual cultivation? Each relies on their own ability. Whoever is drained is not allowed to blame the other party." Chen Yang looked at Wu Qingqing with burning eyes, and a playful smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. "Since senior sister, you have issued a challenge, how can I not accept it? But if I win, the expenses of Smiling Spring Hall this time will be borne by senior sister." "Okay, it's a deal. Okay, then I will try the quality of this Smiling Spring Hall." After Chen Yang finished speaking, he ordered the mortals to wait outside, and then strode forward, walking into Smiling Spring Hall. Wu Qingqing followed behind. A trace of cunning flashed in her eyes after succeeding. The hall was lively and filled with fragrance. The famous prostitutes were all dressed up in colorful clothes, vying for beauty. Chen Yang looked around and shouted loudly, "I am here to challenge no-responsibility dual cultivation." This shout instantly attracted the attention of all the demons present. They looked at Chen Yang as if hungry wolves had seen their prey. "All come, all come, all come, all come." The voices rose and fell. For the Zon cultivators who could carry out no responsibility dual cultivation, these demons who worked in Smiling Spring Hall were very excited. After all, if there is a no responsibility requirement, even if you are drained in dual cultivation, the corpse demon sect will not blame you. At this time, a delicate-looking demon girl moved her lotus steps and walked forward, and said charmingly, "Brother, do you dare to choose me? Is Luo Yu going to play? Then is this little brother going to be drained?" The cultivators who were having fun in the field all exclaimed like this. Chapter 26. Stop talking nonsense and fight. The enthusiasm of these female cultivators was like seeing Chen Yang's clone as a sheep entering a wolf's den. Little did they know that they were the prey. In this Zon cultivation world where the strong preyed on the weak, Yuan had to quickly improve himself in this demonic sect in order to protect himself and solve the problem of cultivation techniques. This was also what led Chen Yang's clone to embark on the path of punishing the demonic women of the demonic path. "What's wrong, junior brother? Is it because this older sister is too beautiful that you can't even speak?" Luo Yu asked Zhao Didi. "Stop talking nonsense, do you dare to fight? Chen Yang asked bluntly. The fight here of course referred to dual cultivation. Oh, junior brother is really a tiger-headed and energetic man. Are you sure it's no responsibility? Luo Yu asked. Of course, no responsibility means no responsibility. All right, this way please. Chen Yang's clone followed the enchanting Luo Yu into a room. The surrounding sounds rose and fell. Before entering the room, Chen Yang heard rumors about this Luo Yu. This Luo Yu is an outer disciple of the corpse demon sect, but she has been engaged in this joyful affair for decades, and her dual cultivation technique has reached its peak. Oh, in that case, this Luo Yu does have some skills. Yes, it is said that her dual cultivation method can make people feel like they are dying of pleasure, and those who engage in dual cultivation with her without responsibility probably don't even know how they died. Haha, dying like that is painless. The room was extremely ornate, with carved beams and painted pillars, and pearl curtains gently swaying. The room was filled with fragrant mist, and an exotic fragrance wafted through the air, intoxicating and mesmerizing. Hanging on the wall was a painting by a famous artist, with delicate brushstrokes and vibrant colors. On the table was a yaoqin. Junior brother, would you like to hear me play a song? Luo Yu's slender fingers pointed to the yaoqin. Stop talking nonsense, let's fight. Chen Yang was like a reckless youth. I wanted to let you listen to a song before you die, but since you want to get on the road faster, don't blame me. Luo Yu's face changed, extremely gloomy. The moment she entered this room, she regarded Chen Yang as a dead man. The previous words were purely professional conduct. Without much prelude, the two directly began dual cultivation. However, Luo Yu, who had cultivated dual cultivation techniques for a lifetime, was directly stunned. She couldn't absorb even a bit of cultivation yang essence by circulating her technique. Instead, her own cultivation yin essence was rapidly lost. She was greatly surprised. She had never seen such a brutal dual cultivation method. She wanted to break free, but Chen Yang held her tightly. Not long after. Creak. The door slowly opened. Many disciples who were looking for pleasure were originally certain that the one who came out would be Luo Yu. After all, she had a resounding reputation in this regard. But when they saw that the one who came out was actually Chen Yang, everyone was so shocked that their jaws almost dropped to the ground. Among the crowd, a disciple dressed in a light blue shirt widened his eyes and said in disbelief, "How is this possible? Luo Yu actually lost. She is a master of dual cultivation techniques in the corpse demon sect." A fat disciple next to him also echoed, with a face full of surprise, "Yes, what is the origin of this kid? Could it be that he is pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger, hiding his strength?" Chen Yang looked proud and walked straight to Wu Qingqing, laughing loudly, sorry to trouble senior sister to settle the bill. There were quite a few people at the door who heard the bet between the two. Wu Qingqing's face turned green and white. Even though she was unwilling, she couldn't go back on her word in front of everyone, so she could only grit her teeth and reluctantly fulfill the agreement. After that, Chen Yang left with a flourish. On the top floor of the Shaochun Hall, the decoration was extremely luxurious. The walls were hung with priceless spiritual paintings, and under the aura's mist, the paintings were as lifelike as living things. The room was filled with various rare spiritual plants, emitting a faint fragrance. A stunningly beautiful woman was leaning lazily on a soft brocade couch. She was wearing a light purple shawkyun, and the Qing Sha fluttered gently in the breeze, vaguely outlining her graceful figure. Her skin was as white as snow, as delicate and smooth as suet jade, and under the soft light in the room, it seemed to emit a faint halo. On her delicate melon-shaped face, a pair of beautiful eyes were as clear as autumn water, yet with a hint of mystery and charm. Her slender willow eyebrows were slightly raised, revealing an innate noble temperament. Her nose was straight and her lips were like cherries, red without rouge. At this moment, the corners of her mouth were pursed in a faint smile, and she was watching Chen Yang leaving on the street with great interest. At this time, a female cultivator rushed over, knelt on one knee, and respectfully reported, "True inheritor master, Luo Yu is dead." Upon hearing this, the stunningly beautiful woman kept her eyes fixed on the direction Chen Yang left, the corners of her mouth slightly raised, and a hint of interest flashed in her eyes. She muttered to herself, "Interesting, go check this person out." Yes. The female cultivator took her order and left. After returning to the sect, Chen Yang's clone handed over the task and returned to his room to digest the cultivation he had gained from dual cultivation. For the next few days, he was immersed in cultivation. Fortunately, he cultivated the dual cultivation technique, the nascent cultivation art, which allowed him to quickly digest the yin essence gained from dual cultivation. Finally, after completing the digestion, he directly broke through to the 7th level of Gathering Profound, officially entering the late stage of the first realm of Zon cultivation. However, on this day, Elder Ma came to inform him that he had obtained a place to participate in the inner disciple election. Chen Yang was shocked. This quota was not easy to obtain. He really didn't understand why he would get it. In the strange blessed land. For the past few days, Yuan has been studying the storage bag he obtained from the cliff cave, and found that there are restrictions on it, making it impossible to open it easily. Just as he was feeling depressed, he was very surprised that Elder Ma suddenly informed Chen Yang that he had obtained a place to compete for an inner disciple. Could it be that a senior member of the sect appreciates Chen Yang? Chen Yang did act high profile a few days ago. But this is also a good thing. If Chen Yang's clone enters the true inheritance lineage in some way, maybe he can get the chance to go to the Xuanming Holy Land. Lu Yuan's thoughts flashed constantly in his mind, and he began to deploy. He was naturally unwilling to give up his identity as a handyman disciple in charge, nor did he want to miss the opportunity for the clone to enter the refining corpse Dao platform. Fortunately, half a month ago, another clone became an outer disciple. Finally, under the operation of Chen Yang's clone, he handed over 500 Zon crystals to Elder Fang of the Sect Affairs Hall, and that clone became a disciple in charge. The Dao Star Sword sect was still in a state of alert. He Wei was only a clerical disciple of the medicine hall, and he was doing repetitive work every day, either drying medicine or fetching medicine for others. On this day, a Star Sword sect disciple came to the medicine hall. "Junior brother He, I'm here to get medicine," the Star Sword sect disciple said to He Wei in the medicine hall. "Okay, senior brother Wei, please wait a moment," He Wei said as he began to prepare the medicine for him. This person's name was Wei Ming, and he was someone He Wei had only met recently. "Junior brother, do you have any better healing medicine here?" Wei Ming looked at He Wei and asked. "There are some, but the price will be slightly more expensive," He Wei replied. "It's okay, as long as the effect is good," Wei Ming said without hesitation. "Okay, I'll get it for you," He Wei said, taking out a few bottles of pills from the cabinet and handing them over. "Well, looks good." Wei Ming took the medicine bottle, poured out a pill, and carefully looked at it. "However, senior brother Wei, you often come to buy healing medicine. Are you injured frequently?" He Wei asked with concern. "Yes, the sect is at war with the demonic path, and we often need to fight with people, so it's inevitable that we will get injured," Wei Ming said helplessly. "Oh, I see. Then you have to be careful. Getting injured too much is not good for your body," He Wei reminded. "I know, thank you for your concern, junior brother He," Wei Ming said gratefully. In fact, this person was the demonic path's hidden agent, Wu Ming. After he escaped the mind-questioning investigation, he often came to the medicine hall under the identity of Wei Ming. Lu Yuan did not understand why Wu Ming wanted to approach He Wei. He had always pretended not to know him, and on the surface, the two had always talked happily. Chapter 27, Inner Gate. Inside the medicine hall, it was the afternoon, the time when Zon cultivators were least likely to visit. Sunlight streamed through the narrow window lattices, casting mottled shadows on the floor. The shelves were filled with various medicine bottles and herbs, emitting faint or strong medicinal fragrances. From He Wei's soul's perspective, he keenly noticed Wei Ming subtly taking out a Zon talisman from his pocket. The talisman flickered with a faint light, and the runes seemed to possess a flowing spiritual charm. Wei Ming gently raised his hand and steadily placed the Zon talisman on the doorway. Instantly, a faint, almost imperceptible light screen quietly appeared, isolating the medicine hall from the outside world. After doing all this, Wei Ming acted as if nothing had happened, strolling back and continuing his conversation with He Wei with that seemingly gentle smile on his face. "By the way, He Shidi, when did you join the sect?" Wei Ming asked casually, his eyes seemingly wandering around the medicine hall. "A month ago, I was fortunate enough to join the sect after passing the test at the sub-hall in Nanline Market, which is under the jurisdiction of the sect," He Wei replied frankly, without hesitation. "Is that so? It seems Shidi won't have the chance to go to the battlefield," Wei Ming said with a slight upturn of his lips, his expression ambiguous. "What does Shishang mean by that?" He Wei's heart tightened, but he still maintained an expression of confusion on his face. "The war, it's almost over." Wei Ming raised his head, his gaze passing through the window lattices, as if looking towards the distant, unseen battlefield. "Oh, how did Shishang learn of such news?" He Wei feigned surprise, his eyes revealing a well-placed curiosity. Does Shidi know why our Star Sword sect launched this war? Wei Ming narrowed his eyes slightly, a hint of elusive expression flashing within. I don't know, I hope Shishang can enlighten me. For a spiritual herb. What spiritual herb? It can actually trigger such a large-scale war. A Dao fruit. What is a Dao fruit? He Wei's face was full of doubt, making it impossible to suspect he was acting. It could only be said that Lu Yuan's control over his clone's acting was already very skilled. Haha, regardless of whether Shidi is truly ignorant or pretending to be. Wei Ming paused, his eyes becoming somewhat profound, and continued, our sect's genius, true disciple Long Yinzi, used extraordinary methods on the battlefield to complete the transfer of a Dao fruit tree, but as a result, the Dao fruit will be delayed by a year before it can mature. All the war needs to do is last another year, and it will be declared over. After speaking, Wei Ming seemingly casually took out a bag from his storage pouch and threw it to He Wei. The bag was soft and faintly emitted a faint spiritual light, indicating that it was a bag commonly used by Zon cultivators to store Zon crystals. He Wei subconsciously reached out to catch it, gently weighed it, and felt a heavy weight in his hand. He was shocked, sensing that there seemed to be as many as 500 Zon crystals. Wei Shishang, what does this mean? He Wei frowned slightly, a hint of vigilance flashing in his eyes. It's nothing, just a small gift for Shidi. Also, I hope Shidi remembers, the first light by the lake at night, the branches it illuminates revealed a secret. After Wei Ming finished speaking, he turned and walked towards the door, raised his hand to remove the Zon talisman, and stepped out of the medicine hall without looking back. In the strange blessed land, Lu Yuan was filled with doubt, his brow furrowed, and he pondered to himself, when exactly was I exposed? It shouldn't be, He Wei's clone has always been cautious and careful, and there hasn't been any demonic Dao aura. While thinking, he controlled He Wei to continue busying himself in the medicine hall. Suddenly, a wave of chilling aura swept over, and the surrounding space seemed to freeze instantly. Several figures appeared in the medicine hall like ghosts. They were dressed in black tight-fitting suits, embroidered with silver sword-shaped patterns, highlighting their unique identities. The leader had a cold face and icy eyes, and said coldly, He Wei, you are suspected of colluding with the demonic Dao. Come with us. He Wei's heart was startled, and just as he was about to open his mouth to defend himself, he suddenly felt a powerful and cold force instantly envelop him. The force bound his body tightly like ropes, and every inch of his skin felt as if it were imprisoned by steel, making it impossible to move. He widened his eyes and looked at the leader in horror, shouting, Who are you? Why do you say I'm colluding with the demonic Dao? I don't know what you're talking about at all. The leader snorted coldly, his eyes full of disdain, and showed a token engraved with the words, Enforcement Hall, shouting, Open your eyes and see clearly, we are disciples of the Enforcement Hall. Now all newly entered disciples have to take a trip. The other Enforcement Hall disciples also surrounded him, their eyes revealing scrutiny and hostility. The originally peaceful atmosphere in the medicine hall was instantly broken, and a tense atmosphere spread. You must be mistaken. I passed the heart questioning clearly. He Wei struggled desperately, but it was only in vain. The restriction tightened even more, making it difficult for him to breathe. Even if you passed, you still have to go, all disciples are the same. Now, obediently come with us. The leader waved his hand, and two Enforcement Hall disciples stepped forward, lifting He Wei up like a chick and walking out of the medicine hall. He Wei was taken to a dark dungeon in the Star Sword sect. Red and yellow flames burned on the walls. He Wei was thrown heavily on the ground. Before he could get up, a group of Enforcement Hall disciples surrounded him. Speak. Are you a demonic Dao disciple? Who are your accomplices? An Enforcement Hall disciple held a leather whip and slammed it hard on the ground. Crack. A crisp sound was particularly harsh in the silent dungeon. I'm really not a demonic Dao disciple. You're framing a good person. He Wei shouted hoarsely, his eyes full of anger and unwillingness. However, the Enforcement Hall disciples did not seem to intend to listen to his defense. This was a torture specifically for newly entered disciples. After He Wei was imprisoned, he was constantly subjected to various cruel tortures and repeatedly asked whether he was a demonic Dao disciple, but he became dull and did not respond. In the strange blessed land, Lu Yuan had already withdrawn his consciousness from He Wei. He naturally could not feel the pain, but he was very disgusted with the hypocritical behavior of continuing to torture disciples even after they had passed the heart questioning. Could it be that Wu Ming framed me, but why haven't I seen him? This is the so-called righteous sect, which actually likes to oppress people just like the demonic Dao. Dot dot dot. Dot dot dot. Within the corpse demon sect, Blood Demon Peak stood proudly like an ancient behemoth, piercing straight into the clouds. Beside Blood Demon Peak, several peaks of various shapes were arranged in a staggered manner. At the top of one of the peaks, the Joy Harmony Palace stood quietly. Outside the palace, the flowers were as splendid as brocade, and colorful flowers competed for beauty, wantonly blooming with the vitality of life, while the interior of the palace was luxuriously decorated without losing its elegance. A huge crystal chandelier hung down from the dome, emitting a soft and brilliant light, illuminating the entire hall in golden splendor. The floor was paved with smooth marble, reflecting the shadows of people. Congratulations, Chen Shidi, on becoming an inner disciple. A crisp and melodious voice, like an oriole leaving the valley, rang out in the hall. Chapter 28 Leaving the Demonic Realm. A stunningly beautiful woman stood before Chen Yang, smiling radiantly. Her figure was graceful, like a delicate willow swaying in the breeze. A light pink gauze dress fluttered gently, making her seem like a celestial being descended to earth, ethereal and otherworldly. The corners of her lips curved upward in a perfect arc, like the warm sun of spring, radiating a captivating charm. This woman was none other than Ji Yuxuan, a true disciple. In the corpse demon sect, true disciples were strong contenders for the sect leader position, holding an incredibly esteemed status. During the inner sect disciple Kao, Chen Yang had vaguely sensed this senior sister's special attention towards him. Whenever Ji Yuxuan looked at him, her gaze always carried a hint of unspeakable appreciation and anticipation. Thank you, senior sister. Chen Yang respectfully extended both hands, his eyes filled with joy and gratitude, and carefully accepted the inner sect disciple silver badge that Ji Yuxuan held out. With his cultivation at the 7th level of Juzan, he was not enough to stand out among the many disciples participating in the assessment, but fortunately, his extinguishing righteousness sword had reached the pinnacle of perfection, allowing him to pass the selection. Now that he had become an inner sect disciple, his status was already equivalent to that of Elder Ma of the Miscellaneous Affairs Department. Ji Yuxuan turned slightly, raised her jade hand gently, pointed to a jade slip placed on a nearby low table, and said with a smile, "This is the profound technique the sect bestows upon you." Chen Yang's heart stirred, and he quickly walked to the low table and picked up the jade slip. He slowly injected his profound power into the jade slip. In an instant, profound characters and operational methods flooded into his mind. This was a profound technique called Nether Abyss Profound Blast, a self-detonation technique. When performing this technique, a Zon cultivator could detonate their own profound power, unleashing a powerful force that surpassed their own realm. However, this was an almost suicidal attack method, often only chosen by death warriors who were determined to die. Chen Yang's heart sank, the smile on his face instantly froze, and a hint of undisguised disappointment and helplessness crept onto his face. It was far from his expectations, but it also fit Lu Yuan's stereotype of the corpse demon sect being stingy. What's wrong? Junior brother doesn't like it. Ji Yuxuan raised her eyebrows slightly, a trace of slyness flashing in her eyes as she looked at Chen Yang with a half-smile. Chen Yang was startled and quickly suppressed the dissatisfaction on his face, squeezing out a smile and saying, "Senior sister Ji, that's not the case. I like this profound technique very much. I'm just a little emotional, feeling flattered to receive such a precious reward from the sect." "That's good. From now on, you are my person. Go down, work hard to improve, complete more sect tasks, and I will reward you." Ji Yuxuan waved her hand gently, a hint of satisfaction in her eyes. "Yes, senior sister." Chen Yang respectfully bowed and left. Comma comma. Comma comma. Comma comma. Inside the sect affairs hall, people came and went, disciples discussing the difficulty of tasks or hurriedly leaving after receiving their assignments. After becoming an inner sect disciple, Chen Yang came to the sect affairs hall for the first time. He went to the task posting platform, and the duty disciple handed him a task scroll. Opening it, he saw that the tasks covered many aspects, such as alchemy and herb gathering. Chen Yang was focused on selecting tasks that allowed him to leave the sect, intending to take his main body, Lu Yuan, to the territory of the righteous path. While he was selecting, the duty disciple reminded him, "Junior brother Chen, you've just entered the inner sect. These tasks are quite difficult, so think carefully." Chen Yang smiled confidently, "Don't worry, senior brother. I know what I'm doing." The duty disciple persuaded again, "If you choose a task that's too difficult and can't complete it, you'll be punished." Chen Yang's eyes were firm, "I'm confident." At this moment, his gaze locked onto a task about investigating the disappearance of a disciple. In the southeast of the demon-subduing profound sect, which is also the northwest of the corpse demon sect, there was a mysterious place with hidden great demons, and many sect disciples had disappeared. This task was dangerous, but the reward was generous, and it allowed him to go out, which suited his wishes. Chen Yang pointed to the task and said, "Senior brother, I choose this one." The duty disciple frowned and advised, "This task is dangerous. The disciples who went before have all disappeared. Why don't you choose another one?" Chen Yang cupped his hands, "Thank you for your concern, senior brother, but I've made up my mind." The duty disciple was helpless and completed the procedures for him. Chen Yang put away the scroll voucher and strode out of the sect affairs hall. Comma comma, comma comma, comma comma. Chen Yang led his main body away from the corpse demon sect's territory, heading towards the great demon's domain indicated by the task. Several days later, they finally stepped into this jungle swamp filled with a foul stench. This place seemed to be shrouded in a layer of death's shadow, oppressive and eerie. Thick fog, as dark as ink, spread wantonly, concealing everything around in a haze, barely allowing one to see a few feet ahead. In the fog, a few faint, ghostly green lights occasionally flickered, like eerie eyes hidden in the darkness, watching the intruder's every move. The surrounding mountains and forests were as silent as a dead land, with no birds chirping or insects humming. Only gusts of cold wind, like the wails of ghosts and wolves, whistled through the forest, making bone-chilling screeches. The thick trees twisted their bodies, like monsters baring their fangs and claws. Their branches intertwined, blocking out the sky and the sun. The mottled light and shadows cast by the sunlight that struggled to penetrate the layers of branches not only brought no warmth, but instead outlined strange shadows on the ground, like the claw prints of demons. Chen Yang knew that this place was full of dangers, and he dared not slack off in the slightest. After thinking for a moment, he pulled out a Juzan third-level clone from the strange blessed land and ordered it to investigate. The clone slowly stepped into the depths of the fog. With each step, the creaking sound of dead branches and fallen leaves underfoot was heard, which seemed particularly abrupt in this silent environment. After walking for an unknown amount of time, the clone finally came to a hidden cliff wall. The area around the cliff wall seemed calm, but it faintly exuded an unspeakable stench. The clone vigilantly looked around, but found no obvious abnormalities. However, when the clone had found nothing, the ground instantly cracked open, revealing a bloody maw with 2 rows of sharp fangs, which swallowed Chen Yang's clone in one bite. In the instant of being swallowed, the clone saw that this extremely well-hidden Zon beast was a huge snake demon, with a thick body as thick as a bucket. The scales on its body shimmered with a cold and eerie green light, like sharp black blades. Comma comma, comma comma, comma comma. In the strange blessed land, the tension in Lu Yuan's heart eased slightly. After receiving the information transmitted by the dead clone, he frowned slightly and muttered to himself, "This information is enough for Chen Yang's clone to complete the task. It's just a pity that the clone cultivated with several months of effort was lost." Through the information transmitted by the clone, Lu Yuan knew that this powerful and hidden monster was a snake demon. Moreover, he speculated that it was at least a second-order Bu Gong or higher Zon beast. After thinking for a moment, he sighed, "Forget it, let's go to Nanline Bazaar first." Afterwards, Lu Yuan stepped out of the strange blessed land. Chen Yang's clone was already waiting outside, and the two of them headed towards the boundary of the righteous path together. After arriving at the boundary of the corpse demon sect, Lu Yuan's main body came to a mortal town dozens of miles away from Nanline Bazaar. This small town had the charm of a Jiangnan water town, with white walls and black tiles, surrounded by green water. A few days later, a pharmacy opened in the town. This was naturally opened by Lu Yuan. During the day, he carefully diagnosed and treated the people who came to seek medical advice, using this to integrate into the local area, so that the clone could have a suitable identity to join the Star Sword sect. For convenience, he also left behind the Juzan 7th level blood demon Taoist soldier. Lu Yuan thought that he could control it without using Zan Shu Fa Men, directly descending his consciousness, which was even more flexible and comprehensive than Zan Shu control. And Chen Yang's clone, who had completed the task, also returned to the demon sect according to plan, continuing to add bricks and tiles to Lu Yuan's layout in the demon sect. Chapter 29, Death of the Clone. Time flies, like a white horse flashing past a crack, and in the blink of an eye, half a month has passed. Lu Yuan lived a leisurely and comfortable life in the mortal city. Every morning, when the pharmacy opened, he would begin his busy day. At this moment, the Lu Yuan in the pharmacy who was treating mortals was just one of his clones. His true self was in the blessed land, immersed in his mind, simultaneously controlling 3 clones. Suddenly, a clear message of breaking through the sixth layer of Jushuan came from Lu Yuan's mind. This unexpected joy caused Lu Yuan, who was controlling the living puppet Seer Lu and working as a pharmacist, and his righteous clone He Wei to be momentarily distracted. He thought to himself, how did I reach the sixth layer of Jushuan? I've been entangled in Suo Shi lately and haven't had time to pay attention to my cultivation. During this time, Chu Jing devoted herself to cultivation. The living puppet Seer Lu originally belonged to the sect and should have been returned long ago, but for some reason, she kept delaying. Fortunately, the living puppet had not left the sect's range, and Lu Yuan did not need to spend extra energy on it, so he could focus most of his attention on the pharmacist, Lu Yuan, and He Wei. The Star Sword sect launched an operation to purge hidden spies within the sect, and He Wei was unfortunately investigated. Faced with various questions, he remained calm, his expression wooden, and he did not utter a single word. Perhaps because his performance was flawless, or perhaps for other reasons, He Wei was released a few days later. Just now, Lu Yuan learned a piece of shocking news through controlling the He Wei clone. The Star Sword sect successfully identified a hidden, demonic path spy, and the sect decided to publicly execute them, requiring all new disciples to attend the execution. On this day, the public execution arrived. The sky was overcast and dense, like a heavy lead plate, making it difficult for everyone to breathe. Under Lu Yuan's control, He Wei and the other disciples arrived at the execution ground early. The atmosphere in the field was heavy, and the surroundings were tightly packed. The new disciples had different expressions. Before long, some Zan cultivators whose hands and feet were bound by heavy iron chains were brought to the execution platform with faltering steps. They were ragged, their tattered clothes fluttering in the wind, their faces haggard, and their eyes filled with despair and unwillingness. About a dozen people were identified by the Star Sword sect as demonic path spies. He Wei's eyes swept across the crowd, and his pupils suddenly shrank when he saw Wei Ming, also known as Wu Ming. Wu Ming once passed information with Chen Yang on the battlefield and was considered to have a small reputation in the Star Sword sect. He was usually known for his bold and righteous behavior, making friends widely. Now, he was reduced to a prisoner about to be executed, which filled He Wei's heart with complex emotions, both regretting his fate and full of doubts about the truth. As the sun rose high, the originally suppressed atmosphere suddenly tightened. A sharp figure stepped through the air. It was Long Yinzi, the Star Sword sect's proud true disciple. Wearing a snow-white robe, the corners of his clothes fluttered, making him particularly conspicuous under the gloomy sky. His face was stern, his eyes carried inherent majesty, and his gaze swept over everyone under the stage like electricity, finally landing on those demonic path spies, like a sharp blade. You have received the sect's grace, enjoying cultivation resources and protection, but you are ungrateful and betray the sect. Such behavior is intolerable. Long Yinzi's voice was like muffled thunder, exploding in everyone's ears, filled with anger and disdain, as if declaring the judgment of the traitors to the world. Wu Ming suddenly raised his head, his eyes filled with resentment and unwillingness, like two balls of black flames burning, and shouted loudly, HMPH, the Star Sword sect seems bright and upright, but in reality, it is corrupt and bukan. The so-called righteous path is just a guise for you to whitewash peace. Now, the rise of the demonic path is in accordance with the will of heaven, and you so-called righteous paths are just Tang by Dang Che. His voice was sharp and desperate, spreading far in the silent execution ground, and his madness and determination made everyone present tremble. Long Yinzi laughed in anger, his laughter filled with disdain and anger, extremely absurd. Any high-sounding reason is by no means an excuse for your betrayal. You collude with the demonic path, harming fellow disciples. It is intolerable and you deserve to die. After saying that, Long Yinzi quickly changed the magic formula in his hand, and the runes flickered in the air, instantly converging into a brilliant sword chi, like a dragon emerging from the sea, and slashed fiercely at those demonic path spies. In an instant, blood splattered, screams rang out, and the demonic path spies were instantly killed. The bright red blood slowly flowed along the cracks in the execution platform, spreading on the ground, and the air was immediately filled with a strong smell of blood. The disciples under the stage reacted differently. Some showed intolerance, slightly turning their heads away, their eyes filled with pity, gently sighing, and feeling sad for their former fellow disciples. Others had firm faces, clenched their fists, and cheered loudly, believing that traitors should be treated like this and the sect's majesty should not be violated. Lu Yuan controlled He Wei, standing expressionlessly in the crowd, but his heart was turbulent. He knew that the righteous sects had always been turbulent, and this purge was probably just the tip of the iceberg, making it difficult to completely eliminate hidden dangers. Through careful observation, He found that some of them looked terrified, their eyes full of innocence and despair, unlike real demonic path spies. They were just caught in this storm because of unwarranted suspicion. He couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. These so-called righteous people used such ruthless methods to maintain their own interests and status. In order to consolidate the sect's purity, they did not hesitate to use despicable means to frame and slander others. The so-called justice was just a tool they manipulated at will. The night was as dark as ink, heavily pressing on the earth. In the silence, only a gentle breeze caressed the weeping willows by a hidden lake outside the Star Sword sect. The moonlight was like silver frost, pouring down on the calm lake surface, the waves shimmering, as if countless tiny diamonds were jumping and twinkling on the water. The surroundings were quiet and mysterious, and the occasional chirping of insects added a bit of tranquility. In the lakeside first big tree illuminated by this dreamlike moonlight, a figure quietly appeared. It was the He clone. Lu Yuan couldn't forget the hint Wei Ming left before. The first light by the lake at night, the branches illuminated, solved the mystery. The curiosity in his heart and the desire for opportunity finally made him unable to hold back and controlled He to come here. He looked nervous and carefully searched among the trees. His eyes swept over every branch, every leaf, and his hands gently opened the branches and leaves, not letting go of any corner that might hide clues. Even though he was outside the Star Sword sect, he could still feel a dangerous aura, as if countless eyes were peeping in the darkness, and an unknown crisis could descend at any time. Finally, he found a note in a hidden crack in a branch. The note was tightly clamped between the branches, as if deliberately hidden. He carefully unfolded the note. With the help of the moonlight, he saw that it read, "The Dao fruit is in the southern district, in the underground secret room of the Armory Hall." Lu Yuan, who was far away in the weird blessed land, was secretly delighted when he saw the message. Just as he was controlling He to prepare to leave first and plan for the long term, a cold aura suddenly descended. Long Yinzi appeared in the air at some point, his figure stretched slender in the moonlight, like a projection of the Grim Reaper. HMPH, Demonic Path Spy, die. Long Yinzi's voice was low and cold, with an unquestionable determination. Lu Yuan secretly cried out that things were bad. In front of a Bu Gong powerhouse, running away was useless. In order to save this clone, he hurriedly controlled He and shouted, "True disciple senior brother, spare me, I am not a demonic path spy." Long Yinzi was unmoved. The Zan power in his hand shot out like a shooting star, instantly hitting He. Lu Yuan in the weird blessed land only felt an overwhelming force coming, as if his consciousness was about to be dissipated. He's head flew up, and through the final information transmission, he saw the body of his clone falling down. Long Yinzi slowly walked to He's side, looked at the words on the note, a look of triumph appeared on his face, and said coldly, "Now that the person is dead, the Dao fruit no longer needs to be transferred. Those demonic path remnants will eventually have no way to succeed and will never want to know the whereabouts of the Dao fruit." After saying that, he waved his long sleeves, and his figure gradually disappeared into the vast night. The calm lake surface still shone with a cold light under the moonlight, as if everything just now had never happened. Chapter 31 Year. Within the eerie blessed land, a peculiar and profound aura swirled like a tangible substance. Lu Yuan's brows were tightly furrowed, a glint of dark light flickering in his eyes. Damn it. I've already stated that I am not an agent of the demonic path, yet this Long Yinzi still killed my clone, He. Utterly hypocritical. But in his heart, he understood that Long Yinzi's action was perfectly normal. Fortunately, just as Lu Yuan's consciousness, descending upon He's clone, was about to fade like a candle in the wind, he faintly heard Long Yinzi say that he would no longer transfer the Dao fruit. Lu Yuan was first stunned, then he threw back his head and laughed, mocking, "Humph, Long Yinzi is arrogant to the extreme. But it does give me a chance to scheme for the Dao fruit." In reality, that strange Dao fruit held a fatal attraction for Lu Yuan. According to the introduction of the eerie blessed land, if the blessed land refines the Dao fruit, it would not only gain another split soul, but also obtain powerful abilities. This would be a great help for his rise and his plans for longevity. Although the clone He had died, as early as a few days ago, Lu Yuan had carefully arranged another clone to infiltrate the Star Sword sect, now a menial disciple at the very bottom of the weapon refinement hall. This was an exquisite game of chess. He was like a player, laying out a screen of schemes. Even when facing self-important prodigies, he had the confidence to manipulate them in the palm of his hand with his wit. Dot dot dot. Dot dot dot. Dot dot dot. Time flew by like a white horse glimpsed through a crack, and a year had passed in the blink of an eye. After a physician came to Daizan City a year ago, the mortals in the city benefited greatly, and illnesses gradually decreased. Every day, as the morning sun first shone, a long queue would form in front of Lu's medical clinic, everyone eagerly awaiting Lu Yuan's miraculous treatment. One day, an old man, supported by his family, hobbled into the clinic. Lu Yuan hurried to greet him, focusing on taking his pulse, and immediately his sword-like eyebrows furrowed slightly. The old man's family anxiously asked, "Sir, can my father's illness still be cured?" Lu Yuan said with a solemn expression, "This is a chronic illness, and it is also combined with the intrusion of evil aura. The two are intertwined, making the condition complex. The evil aura has invaded the meridians, causing stagnation of qi and blood. The old man often feels excruciating pain all over his body, his limbs are numb and weak, especially at night, making it difficult for him to sleep." Upon hearing this, everyone's expression changed, all knowing the danger of evil aura. Lu Yuan paused slightly and continued, "However, it is not untreatable. It requires spiritual herbs such as evil cleansing spirit orchid, supplemented by the returning origin evil expelling acupuncture, to dispel the evil aura with a two-pronged approach." After speaking, he took out a faintly glowing spiritual herb, held a silver needle in his hand, his technique skillful and steady, the silver needle accurately piercing the acupoints like a swimming dragon, strands of spiritual energy injected. At the same time, he quickly formed a hand seal, casting the spirit-gathering spring-returning array. The array's light shone brightly, and spiritual energy surged into the old man's body. Before long, the old man's complexion turned from pale to rosy, his breathing gradually stabilized, and everyone sighed in admiration. After all, Lu Yuan's clone, He Wei, had studied in the Star Sword sect's Good Medicine Hall for several months, and treating mortals was just a trivial matter for him. After settling the old man, he devoted himself to the treatment of the next patient. At this moment, the one who was busy was only Lu Yuan's clone without any cultivation. His main body was hidden in the eerie Blessed Land, like a lurking tiger, biding his time, secretly laying out plans, quietly waiting for a great accumulation of strength. In a corner of the Blessed Land, a clone sat cross-legged, the profound energy around him gathered like a vortex, beads of sweat rolling down his forehead. He was using a profound secret technique. Mind-splitting technique. This was the mind-splitting control system constructed by Lu Yuan, which could be said to be exquisite and unparalleled, able to perfectly control the clones. Now these clones had been inserted into the Corpse Demon sect, the Star Sword sect, and the Shadow Death cult. The combination of split soul and mind-splitting technique is a stroke of genius. Like a central processing unit, able to control numerous clones, Lu Yuan thought to himself smugly. Half a year ago, he advanced to the late stage of gathering profound, refined a split soul and integrated it into a clone, named the Central Clone, specializing in cultivating the mind-splitting technique, controlling a large number of clones, able to allow a large number of clones to maintain basic intelligence and personality so that Lu Yuan would not suffer from mental split. However, this system was not perfect. The Central Clone occasionally crashed, that is, the split soul's cultivation of the mind-splitting technique led to madness. When it was first running, the Central Clone suddenly crashed, and some clones lost control, almost exposing their identities. Lu Yuan immediately zeroed it and formatted it before it returned to normal, and since then he had been extra cautious about its operation. Now it was necessary to zero and format it every night before it could continue to be used the next day. This year, relying on the cultivation points he had obtained, Lu Yuan stepped into the late stage of gathering profound, but he knew that the demonic path cultivation technique had many hidden dangers. Therefore, he deliberately cultivated slowly, increasing only 1 point each day, accurately controlling it to avoid reaching a bottleneck. Nearly 100 clones around him were like lurking behemoths, their breathing causing spiritual energy to surge, and their bodies became more and more resilient after being washed by profound energy. This year, he refined hundreds of clones, spending more than 1,000 points of destiny. Most of the clones entered the corpse refinement platform, and the remaining clones used the provided cultivation points to cultivate the body tempering art, most of them reaching the 8th level of gathering profound. Lu Yuan intentionally controlled them to stop before the bottleneck, and all of them learned the terrifying netherworld profound burst. Once they got close to the enemy and unleashed this technique, they would surely perish together. At this time, Lu Yuan was holding a storage bag in his hand, which he had obtained from Chu Jing in the stronghold cave. In fact, ordinary low-level storage bags had no restrictions, only high-level storage bags had them, and this bag's restrictions were extremely complex. Over the past year, Lu Yuan had tried to unlock its restrictions many times, but had not succeeded, and had almost given up. He looked solemn, his hands forming seals at lightning speed, and profound light merged into the bag. This storage bag unlocking technique was purchased by his clone in the Star Sword sect from the market under its jurisdiction. This unlocking of restrictions was very common, completely relying on luck, and required a lot of time. The Dao fruit was about to mature, and it was a critical moment. More help meant more chances of success, so he tried again. For the past half-month, he had been studying day and night. He had a premonition that he would succeed today, so he tried again. Under his strong will, a strange and eerie aura quietly poured into the storage bag like a ghost. In an instant, the restrictions' light flickered, and then slowly dissipated. The storage bag was finally successfully unlocked. Lu Yuan couldn't wait to check the items in the bag. He saw that it was full of profound talismans, most of them were second order, and there were even precious third order profound talismans. This is the attack type Thunder Flame Talisman, Ice Thorn Talisman. There are even defensive type Golden Shield Talisman and Greenwood Talisman. These profound talismans are worth no less than 10,000 profound crystals in total, and there are even some profound talismans that I don't recognize, their value is immeasurable. Lu Yuan stared at the profound talismans, his eyes full of excitement and confidence, knowing that these would become a powerful reliance in the fight for the Dao fruit, and he seemed to be already assured of victory. This year, in addition to laying out plans, Lu Yuan paid attention to the external situation. The favored demoness Chu Jing successfully joined the ranks of inner disciples, and with the opportunity of the stronghold cave, she broke through to the 8th level of gathering profound in one fell swoop. This woman acted ruthlessly and decisively, and her methods were fierce, making people tremble with fear. For some unknown purpose, she generously spent 1,000 gold, spending 1,000 profound crystals to purchase the living puppet Seer Lu from the sect. It should be known that such a huge amount of profound crystals was enough to refine a personal Dao soldier. However, Chu Jing was not satisfied with this, and invested a huge amount of resources to send the living puppet to a higher-level corpse refinement platform for refinement. Once the refinement was successful, the living puppet's strength would surely increase exponentially, and by then, Chu Jing's strength would also rise accordingly. It was just that this was just making wedding clothes for Lu Yuan. After all, the living puppet Seer Lu was Lu Yuan's clone. As for Chen Yang's clone, it had reached the 9th level of gathering profound, and was currently actively applying to the sect for subsequent cultivation techniques, but unfortunately the sect's rules were strict, and only by becoming a true disciple could one obtain subsequent cultivation techniques. Let's see if Ji Yuxuan can help solve the problem of cultivation techniques. Lu Yuan hated the corpse demon sect very much, but he had no choice because this cultivation technique involved resolving the hidden dangers of bottlenecks. He had no choice but to descend his consciousness on Chen Yang, and found that this clone with a split soul had already taken the initiative to come to the Joyful Union Hall to seek an audience with the true disciple Ji Yuxuan. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 31 Plan unfolds. Inside the Joyful Union Hall, the luminous pearls embedded in the walls reflected the brilliance of the chandeliers, illuminating every corner of the hall. Chen Yang knelt on one knee in the somewhat desolate hall. Ji Yuxuan moved with light, lotus-like steps, leaning languidly against the main seat of the hall, her eyes like frozen pools, coldly scrutinizing Chen Yang kneeling below. Senior sister, Elder Ma of the Miscellaneous Affairs Office is secretly obstructing me, preventing me from obtaining the subsequent cultivation methods of the body tempering art. I implore senior sister to stand up for me. Chen Yang gritted his teeth, his grief and indignation evident. Recently, Elder Ma, for some unknown reason, seemed to have discovered that the death of his nephew was related to Chen Yang, and had begun to make things difficult for him in public on several occasions. Originally, there was an unspoken rule that inner disciples at the 9th level of the profound gathering stage could purchase subsequent cultivation methods for supplementing their palaces with profound crystals, but Elder Ma disrupted this for Chen Yang, making it impossible. You come to me to complain about such a trivial matter. Ji Yuxuan frowned slightly, her tone full of dissatisfaction. Chen Yang was startled, recalling how this Yao witch had appreciated him in the first place. In the past year, to lay the groundwork for the Honored One, he had kept a very low profile, perhaps this was why he had disappointed this senior sister. He bit his lip and slowly raised his head, his eyes filled with determination and resolution. Disciple also begs senior sister to bestow upon me the subsequent cultivation methods of the body tempering art. Ji Yuxuan raised her eyebrows slightly, a playful smile appearing on her lips. You are indeed greedy. These subsequent cultivation methods of the body tempering art are not easily given to others, one must become a true disciple. Chen Yang quickly replied, his voice tinged with urgency and helplessness. Senior sister, these are merely the superficial rules of the sect. In secret, many inner disciples have obtained subsequent cultivation methods without becoming true disciples. Disciple knows that my own aptitude is mediocre. Without subsequent cultivation methods, I fear I will find it difficult to improve in this life. Moreover, disciple is willing to forever be loyal to senior sister, even unto death. Ji Yuxuan was silent for a moment, her slender fingers lightly tapping the armrest, as if weighing something. After a moment, she slowly spoke. Those disciples were all rewarded for making significant contributions. Chen Yang cursed inwardly, but his face remained respectful. Senior sister, within the sect, some so-called contributions are merely purchased with profound crystals, yet they are spoken of with righteous indignation, as if one has made unparalleled achievements. A hint of displeasure flashed in Ji Yuxuan's eyes, and she did not speak again. Chen Yang hurriedly continued, Senior sister, I wonder if news of the anomalous Tao fruit counts as a significant contribution. Upon hearing the 4 words, anomalous Tao fruit, Ji Yuxuan's originally languid eyes instantly sharpened. She suddenly sat up straight, leaning forward. You know where the anomalous Tao fruit is? Chen Yang secretly breathed a sigh of relief, it seemed he had made the right gamble. He raised his head, saying with a sincere expression, Disciple accidentally learned that the anomalous Tao fruit is in the underground secret chamber of the Armory Hall in the southern district of the demon-subduing mysterious sect's ruins. Ji Yuxuan leaned back into her seat, her fingers still lightly tapping the armrest, her eyes filled with contemplation. After a moment, she said, How do you know? Chen Yang hurriedly explained, This junior has an informant in the Star Sword sect who has been passing information to me. Senior sister, rest assured, if the information is false, this disciple is willing to commit suicide to atone for my sins. Ji Yuxuan nodded slightly, HMPH, I doubt you would dare. These subsequent cultivation methods are bestowed upon you. With that, a jade scroll containing the profound gathering stage completion cultivation methods of the demonic path flew to Chen Yang. Chen Yang accepted the jade scroll and said, The anomalous Tao fruit seems to be maturing in 10 days. If we miss this opportunity, it will be as difficult as ascending to heaven to find it again. Ji Yuxuan's eyes lit up. Good, good, good. We'll depart immediately. With a wave of her sleeve, a surge of majestic yet gentle power swept up Chen Yang, flying towards Corpse Sever Peak of the Corpse Demon sect. Corpse Sever Peak, the supreme sacred ground of the Corpse Demon sect, is perpetually shrouded in ink-like demonic energy, emitting a chilling and terrifying aura. Atop the peak, Corpse Lord Hall stood towering and majestic, like a demonic fortress rising from the 9 nether hell. Ji Yuxuan, carrying Chen Yang, stepped into the hall, only to see huge black stone pillars reaching to the sky, like the pillars of ancient demon gods, supporting this dark firmament. On the walls, faint, cold lights emanated, as if from the will-o'-the-wisps from the shores of the river Styx, illuminating the entire space with a strange and sinister glow. At the end of the hall, above a high platform carved from a naturally formed black monolith, the Corpse Demon sect master sat with a solemn expression. His face was as cold and stern as ice, his eyes as deep and profound as an abyss, and he exuded an invisible yet suffocating majesty, as if he were the ruler of this dark world. Ji Yuxuan moved with light, lotus-like steps, stepped into the hall, respectfully bowed, her voice clear and melodious, yet unconsciously carrying a hint of awe in this sinister atmosphere. Sect Master, this disciple Ji Yuxuan, comes to pay her respects. What is the matter? The sect master slightly raised his eyes, his gaze like 2 cold beams of light, instantly falling on Ji Yuxuan. Disciple wishes to wage war on the demon-subduing mysterious sect's ruins. As soon as Ji Yuxuan said this, the surrounding air seemed to freeze. The Corpse Demon sect master seemed to be able to see through every thought in her heart. He slowly spoke, his voice low and heavy, as if coming from the depths of the 9 nether. Ji Yuxuan, the sect has already appointed other true disciples to preside over the overall situation in this campaign against the demon-subduing mysterious sect's ruins. Your rash intervention is contrary to the sect's arrangements and is not in accordance with reason. Ji Yuxuan frowned slightly. She hurriedly stepped forward, explaining respectfully and urgently, Sect Master, this disciple has no intention of disobeying the sect's arrangements. It's just that Qian Cha's actions in the ruins are truly perplexing. His actions are slow and hesitant, causing the situation of my corpse demon sect in the ruins to take a sharp turn for the worse. Now, we have almost withdrawn from the battlefield. If this continues, let alone obtaining the anomalous Tao fruit, I fear that my sect will no longer have a foothold in these ruins. The sect master's expression hardened, and his tone became heavier. Ji Yuxuan, you and Qian Cha are both true disciples, shouldering heavy responsibilities. You should understand that he is merely waiting for an opportunity. You must not make rash accusations based on your momentary opinions. Ji Yuxuan couldn't help but sneer, her words barely concealing her disdain. HMPH, in this disciple's opinion, he is merely timid and cowardly, hesitant and fearful, possessing the name of a true disciple but lacking the courage to make decisions. If this continues, the great opportunities in those ruins will surely be wasted. The sect master's face suddenly darkened, like dark clouds pressing down, his gaze shooting towards Ji Yuxuan like a sharp blade, scolding sternly, Ji Yuxuan, do not be presumptuous. Just take good care of the tasks assigned to you by the sect. Ji Yuxuan's heart trembled, realizing that her words were too extreme. She hurriedly lowered her head and pleaded guilty, Sect Master, please calm your anger. This disciple was momentarily anxious and spoke improperly. I hope the sect master will forgive me. The sect master waved his hand slightly, his expression softening slightly, and asked, since you are so persistent, you should know where that anomalous Tao fruit is. Ji Yuxuan hurriedly raised her head, her eyes flashing with excitement, and replied respectfully, reporting to the sect master, this disciple spared no effort in inquiring from various sources and finally obtained definite news. That anomalous Tao fruit is now in the southern district of the ruins. Chapter 32, Good and Evil Fight Again. The southern district. That area has always been controlled by the Star Sword sect, like a dragon's pool and a tiger's den. But it does meet the conditions for transplanting the aberrant Tao fruit. The sect leader nodded after a moment of consideration. Ji Yuxuan straightened her body, her eyes burning with a firm flame, and said confidently, Sect leader, please rest assured, this disciple is willing to exchange the mission rewards from my Smiling Spring Hall for this campaign, and vows to bring back that aberrant Tao fruit to the sect, and make an unparalleled contribution to my corpse demon sect. The sect leader stared at Ji Yuxuan, his eyes filled with scrutiny and consideration. After a long while, he slowly opened his mouth and said, that's just a first-order aberrant Tao fruit. The real good stuff has already been snatched away by that old thing from Medicine Blossom Valley. But so be it, then I will allow you to mobilize 1,000 outer sect disciples and 500 inner sect disciples for the campaign. Ji Yuxuan was overjoyed, and hurriedly bowed again, her voice full of gratitude and determination. Thank you for your trust, sect leader. This disciple will remember your teachings and live up to your expectations. I will cut through thorns and return in triumph, bringing glory to the sect. The sect leader slightly raised his hand, signaling Ji Yuxuan to rise, his tone carrying a hint of anticipation. Don't be too happy. If you don't even see the shadow of the aberrant Tao fruit, and damage the reputation of my corpse demon sect, half of the profits from your Smiling Spring Hall will be handed over to the sect. Ji Yuxuan's expression was firm, and she cupped her fist and replied, this disciple will certainly not fail her mission. With that, she turned around, took firm steps, and quickly walked out of the Corpse Lord Hall. Dot 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 dot. Dot 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 dot. Dot 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 dot. The ruins of the demon-subduing mystic sect. This area is filled with the vicissitudes of time. More than a year ago, the Corpse Demon sect suddenly withdrew from this melee, leaving only the Star Sword sect and the Death Shadow sect to fight. The southern district, as an area in the ruins of the demon-subduing mystic sect that has been effectively controlled by the Star Sword sect for nearly 2 years, has always been relatively peaceful. However, this day's tranquility was broken. The demonic energy in the sky suddenly surged, covering the sky and the sun like ink clouds, and the originally clear space instantly changed. The disciples of the Star Sword sect immediately noticed the abnormality and stood ready. The prodigy and true inheritor, Long Yinzi, had been stationed here for a long time, and no longer cared about the slow progress of his cultivation. Dressed in a plain white robe, his figure stood tall and straight like a pine tree, with a profound treasure-long sword hanging from his waist. With a cold expression, he stood firmly at the forefront of the Star Sword sect disciples, overlooking the Corpse Demon sect crowd surging like a tide. In the demonic energy, Ji Yuxuan took the lead. She wore a gorgeous black dress, and the skirt fluttered in the wind, like a ghost shuttling in the dark night. Her face was beautiful, but it revealed an icy chill, and her eyes were intertwined with Yinji and ruthlessness. Star Sword Sect, today is your doomsday. Ji Yuxuan's voice was like an ice prism shattering in the cold winter, echoing in the air, each word wrapped in endless killing intent. Long Yinzi met her gaze without fear, his voice like a bell, and said loudly, Corpse Demon Sect, why are you invading my Star Sword Sect's territory for no reason? Retreat quickly, otherwise don't blame my Star Sword Sect for being merciless and wiping you out in one fell swoop. Ji Yuxuan sneered, a hint of triumph flashing in her eyes. Haha, Long Yinzi, I have already notified the Death Shadow Sect to come together. If you know what's good for you, retreat quickly, maybe you can save your life, otherwise today will be your burial place. Humph, I think you're daydreaming. Kill. Long Yinzi's expression was solemn, he stepped on the Big Dipper steps, his figure was as fast as lightning, and he rushed towards the Corpse Demon Sect disciples. The Star Sword Sect disciples were well trained, and their overall strength was slightly better than the Corpse Demon Sect. In addition, this area had been managed by the Star Sword Sect for a long time, occupying a favorable geographical position. After several encounters, the Corpse Demon Sect gradually fell into a disadvantage, and their formation began to be a little flustered. The duel between Ji Yuxuan and Long Yinzi was even more intense. The two figures intertwined, and the light of spells overflowed. Long Yinzi's swordsmanship was fierce, and his moves were pressing hard. Although Ji Yuxuan barely coped with her weird movements and demonic skills, she was gradually suppressed by Long Yinzi. As the battle continued, Ji Yuxuan had added several wounds to her body, blood seeping out, dyeing her clothes red. Long Yinzi, are you so merciless to a woman like me? Ji Yuxuan said coquettishly while resisting, trying to distract Long Yinzi's attention. You Yaonu have done many evils, today is your death. Long Yinzi's heart was unmoved, and the swordsmanship in his hand became more and more fierce. He had a faint unease in his heart, and always felt that the appearance of the Corpse Demon Sect this time was no accident, and it seemed that the aberrant Dao fruit he transplanted had been noticed. Faced with Long Yinzi's fierce offensive, Ji Yuxuan gradually became unable to resist. She knew that she would be defeated if she continued like this, so she shouted loudly, Ying Moran, why don't you show yourself? As soon as these words came out, Long Yinzi's heart trembled, and he instantly became vigilant. But he did not retreat, but instead launched a more fierce offensive, trying to solve Ji Yuxuan before the opponent's reinforcements arrived. You so-called righteous people of the Star Sword Sect are so ruthless to women, it's really hypocritical. An icy voice came from the air, and a mist shadow slowly appeared in the sky. The mist shadow gradually condensed, and Ying Moran of the Death Shadow Sect appeared. He was majestic and exuded a powerful pressure. With a wave of his hand, a black light curtain instantly appeared, steadily blocking Long Yinzi's fierce swordsmanship. After Ying Moran appeared, his gaze swept coldly towards Long Yinzi and the Star Sword Sect, and a cruel smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Star Sword Sect, today you will not be able to escape. The opportunity of this demon-subduing mystic sect ruins is destined to be ours. Long Yinzi thought to himself, now that he was attacked from both sides, the situation was extremely unfavorable to him. But on the surface, he was still calm and composed, and said loudly, Ying Moran, Ji Yuxuan, do you think you can do whatever you want by colluding together? How can my Star Sword Sect be afraid of you? After saying that, he secretly transmitted a voice to the Star Sword Sect disciples behind him, instructing everyone to maintain the sword formation and not panic. The Star Sword Sect disciples exchanged glances, instantly understanding each other, their figures turned into afterimages, and they adjusted the sword formation nimbly and orderly. However, a young disciple looked indifferent and threw out an object like a talisman paper in his hand. The object drew an arc in the air, quietly fell to the ground, and made a slight cracking sound. But at this moment, the situation was urgent, and it did not attract the attention of others, and the young disciple then merged into the sword formation. In the blink of an eye, the sword energy in the sword formation was vertical and horizontal, like silver dragons dancing wildly, intertwined with each other to form a large net with a cold light shining and airtight. It was the famous Star Sword Sect Celestial Star Sword Net. This sword formation is performed by outer sect disciples in coordination, and its defensive power is absolutely top-notch, and it has repeatedly saved the Star Sword Sect from danger. Unexpectedly, the change happened suddenly. Boom! With a loud noise, like a thunderbolt exploding, a blazing magical light erupted at a certain node of the sword formation, thunder and flames intertwined, flames soared into the sky, and thick smoke billowed. First Order Thunder Flame Talisman. Which rat is ruining my great event? Long Yinzi's eyes were about to split, his eyes were wide open, he stared at the chaotic scene, and roared, You group of despicable demonic spies, your sins are unforgivable. Obviously, the Thunder Flame Talisman was detonated from inside the sword formation, and the indestructible sword formation defense line collapsed instantly. Even so, Long Yinzi's strength was outstanding. Facing the joint attack of Ying Moran of the Death Shadow sect and Ji Yuxuan of the Corpse Demon sect, he was still calm and composed. The Xuanbao long sword in his hand swung out sword flowers, and his sword moves were fierce and steady, without falling behind. But the other disciples of the Star Sword sect were in danger. The disciples of the Death Shadow sect and the Corpse Demon sect rushed like a surging tide, with fierce attacks. The Star Sword sect disciples were in chaos, their faces showed fear, and it seemed that they would be defeated like a mountain. At the critical moment, the sound of breaking wind came from afar, and a group of Xuanshou descended like soldiers from the sky, quickly joining the battlefield and fighting side by side with the Star Sword sect disciples who were on the verge of desperation. Chapter 33, Sneaking into the Weapon Refining Hall. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Two flying knives wrapped in fierce flames whistled like shooting stars, cutting through the sky and emitting sharp hissing sounds. At this moment, Long Yinzi, Ying Moran, and Ji Yuxuan were immersed in a fierce battle. These sudden flying knives separated them instantly. "Brother Long, I'm here to help you." Accompanied by a loud shout, another expert appeared. This person was wearing a bright yellow Taoist robe, which rustled in the wind, with faint runes flickering on it. Although his hair was slightly disheveled, it did not diminish the sharp light in his eyes. This person was Yu Zi, a direct disciple from Yaohua Valley, and a Bu Gong realm expert. "Brother Yu, thank you for coming to help. Let's deal with these two fiends first, and then we can catch up." Long Yinzi's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise when he saw Yu Zi's arrival, and he said loudly, "Since Yu Zi has appeared, does that mean Yaohua Valley is going to wade into this muddy water again?" Ji Yuxuan's eyes flickered as she looked at Ying Moran, a trace of worry flashing in her eyes. "Ji Yuxuan, show your true skills, otherwise we may really be planted here today." Ying Moran's expression was solemn. He reached into his storage bag and with a shua sound, pulled out a long spear. The spear shaft emitted a chilling light, and the tassel was as bright red as blood. "Yo, Ying Moran, you've actually taken out your trump card, the life-reaping spear. But even so, you will not escape death today." The corners of Yu Zi's mouth rose slightly, revealing a playful smile. In his hand was already a three-legged medicine cauldron. The medicine cauldron was ancient and heavy, with mysterious patterns engraved on its surface. Wisps of medicinal fragrance wafted from it, as if it could captivate people's hearts. Long Yinzi also tightened his grip on the long sword in his hand. The sword body hummed with the sound of a dragon, and sword energy crisscrossed. "Hee, you are actually so fierce, you scared this little girl to death. This girl won't play with you anymore." No one expected that before Ji Yuxuan's voice even faded, she suddenly turned around, her figure instantly transforming into a bloody shadow, disappearing quickly from everyone's eyes like a ghost. Blood Demon Shadow escape. "Damn it, Ji, you dare to play me." Ying Moran's expression changed drastically when he saw this, and he couldn't help but curse. However, the two Righteous Path prodigies had already attacked like tigers descending the mountain. Ying Moran could only suppress his anger and fight back with all his might. For a time, the sky flashed with light, and the sound of spells colliding was deafening. The fierce battle distorted the surrounding air. On the ground, the Star Sword sect, which had been suppressed and beaten by the four major forces, saw the situation reverse instantly after the arrival of the Yaohua Valley expert, and the two sides formed a state of stalemate. The shouts of killing and the roar of spells intertwined, and the entire battlefield was filled with smoke and chaos. On the side of the Corpse Demon sect's battlefield, Chen Yang's clone was using the extinguishing intent sword technique. His sword moves were superb, and each sword contained powerful power, far from what people of the same realm could do. Having obtained the subsequent cultivation methods of the body tempering art, he has cultivated to the consummate Jushuan realm. He only needs a Bu Gong pill to break through the bottleneck and become a formidable Bu Gong realm expert. While fighting, he paid attention to and observed the battle of the prodigies in the sky. Seeing Ji Yuxuan suddenly escape, his mind turned, and he immediately understood the reason. Ji Yuxuan has begun to act, wanting Ying Moran to hold back the Righteous Path prodigies, while she takes the opportunity to seize the strange Dao fruit. Thinking of this, Chen Yang's clone no longer hesitated, turned around and headed towards the depths of the southern district ruins along a hidden path. Comma comma, comma comma, comma comma. The weapon refining hall, which was already the temporary residence of the Star Sword sect, was unusually deserted at this moment. The disciples had all gone to the battlefield, leaving only a desolate silence. Gusts of cold wind blew past, stirring up the fallen leaves and dust on the ground. Here, Chen Yang's clone suddenly appeared a few miles outside the Star Sword sect's residence, and after running a few steps, he found a huge rock and quickly leaned against it. He quietly put the dark long sword into the storage bag, leaning against the cold stone, breathing slightly. Before, his mind was highly concentrated on the battlefield, and he didn't notice it. At this time, once he calmed down, a suffocating sense of oppression came over him, and his heart couldn't help but beat wildly. He took a few deep breaths, trying to calm himself down, and then groped under the rock for a while, finally taking out a package. Opening it, inside was a set of outer sect disciples' clothes from the Star Sword sect. Whether it was the small road or this package, they were all methods left behind by the clone hidden in the Star Sword sect. After a while, Chen Yang's clone changed his clothes, tidied up his clothes, and swaggered towards the Star Sword sect's residence, as if he was originally a member here. As soon as Chen Yang stepped into the Star Sword sect's residence, he saw two patrolling disciples walking from a distance. Their steps were neat, and their eyes scanned the surroundings vigilantly. The two disciples glanced at him, their eyes staying on him for a brief moment, and they did not suspect anything. Chen Yang was secretly delighted, but on the surface, he still maintained his composure, and kept walking towards his destination, pretending nothing was wrong. Gradually, a row of ancient furnaces appeared in front of him. These furnaces had been baptized by the years, and the furnace body was covered with mottled rust, as if telling the glory of the past. Next to the furnace was an ancient pavilion, with upturned eaves and bucket arches, majestic, but also with a mysterious atmosphere. This place is not simple, it was where the demon-subduing profound sect refined weapons thousands of years ago, and it is also where the strange Dao fruit was transplanted. Just then, a burst of rapid footsteps came from behind. Chen Yang's heart tightened, and when he looked back, he saw an older disciple leading a few younger disciples rushing over. The older disciple was burly, with a serious face and piercing eyes, staring at Chen Yang and shouting loudly, "Stop! Why are you wandering around here?" Chen Yang's mind raced, and a flustered look instantly appeared on his face. He stammered, "Senior brother, I just came back from the front line. The brothers were badly injured, and I came back to get some healing pills." As he spoke, he deliberately revealed some blood stains on his sleeves to increase credibility. The senior brother frowned slightly, a trace of doubt revealed in his eyes. Just as he was about to ask again, suddenly, a burst of rapid and shrill bells rang. The bell echoed in the silent residence, appearing particularly harsh. The senior brother's face changed instantly, and he rushed towards the pavilion, shouting, "Not good, a demon cultivator has sneaked in, everyone come quickly." Chen Yang breathed a sigh of relief and hurried to speed up his pace, also walking towards the pavilion. When he came to the pavilion, he found that Ji Yuxuan was already here. She was holding a black and red whip, which faintly exuded a strange aura. With a wave of her arm, the whip lashed out like a poisonous snake at a Star Sword sect disciple. The disciple didn't even have time to let out a scream before he was killed by the whip. Ji Yuxuan snorted coldly and walked straight into the pavilion with light steps. Chen Yang's clone naturally followed. At the same time, Long Yinzi on the battlefield seemed to have a bad premonition and planned to make a quick decision. Chapter 34 Darkroom. The three prodigies were fighting, and the movement was like the sky falling and the earth cracking. Rolling thunderous sounds surged from the distant horizon, as if to shatter the entire world. Even those in the pavilion were shaken with aching eardrums by such a majestic roar, and their hearts involuntarily beat violently with the booming sound. Inside the pavilion, Chen Yang, with his keen perception and rich experience, quickly deduced the situation outside in his mind. Moreover, there was more than one doppelganger lurking in the battlefield, and they could transmit information through the strange blessed land. At this moment, Chen Yang had approached Ji Yuxuan. Ji Yuxuan was wantonly killing Star Sword sect disciples, her long whip lashing out like lightning, about to strike Chen Yang to death. In the nick of time, Chen Yang hurriedly shouted, "Senior sister, it's me." Ji Yuxuan stopped her strength, the long whip stopping dangerously in front of Chen Yang's neck, the force of the whip's tip cutting his skin painfully. Ji Yuxuan frowned and questioned, "How did you get in here?" Chen Yang pretended to be relaxed and smiled, "Senior sister, I took advantage of the gaps in the Star Sword sect disciples, patrols, changed into their clothes, and carefully detoured all the way here." "You're quite clever." Ji Yuxuan nodded slightly, a flash of appreciation in her eyes, then her face turned stern, and she instructed, "Go scout ahead." Chen Yang helplessly curled his lips, pretending to be dissatisfied, and walked in front. Approaching Ji Yuxuan was a carefully laid out plan by Lu Yuan, aimed at obtaining information about the strange Dao fruit as soon as possible. The two searched around the pavilion, and finally in a seemingly ordinary room, they discovered a hidden secret passage. The entrance of the secret passage was half covered by a broken wooden board, and some debris was scattered around. If they hadn't looked carefully, they wouldn't have noticed it at all. Ji Yuxuan and Chen Yang looked at each other, seeing caution in each other's eyes. They slowly moved the wooden board away, and a musty, decaying smell rushed towards them, making them want to cough. The secret passage was filled with heavy darkness, as if hiding endless dangers. The two carefully descended along the secret passage. The walls were covered with dark green moss, and the ground was slippery. If they weren't careful, they could fall. Suddenly, the sound of rapid footsteps came from ahead, and two Star Sword sect disciples appeared. Ji Yuxuan's eyes turned cold, her figure as fast as lightning, instantly approaching. Before the other party could react, her hands were like eagle claws, accurately locking onto their throats. With a little force, she killed them. Chen Yang sighed inwardly at Ji Yuxuan's ruthless methods. He continued along the secret passage for a long time, finally arriving at a dark and damp underground chamber. The putrid smell in the chamber was so strong that it was almost suffocating. A few luminous stones embedded in the walls could only barely illuminate a small area, and the rest was still shrouded in darkness. A stone door slowly opened, and they saw a bare tree with a fleshy fruit emitting a strange luster hanging on it. The surface of the fleshy fruit had flowing halos, and a mysterious aura diffused out. It really is a strange Dao fruit. Chen Yang, you have made a great contribution this time. Go and pick the Dao fruit, Ji Yuxuan said with excitement and eagerness in her eyes, impatiently ordering. Yes, senior sister. This matter seemed fraught with danger, but in fact, Chen Yang was very happy. Even if there was indeed a mysterious formation on this Dao fruit and he would be injured, it didn't matter, because this was a doppelganger of a doppelganger. However, if he could get it, the plan to obtain the Dao fruit would be half successful. Just as Chen Yang was about to reach out and touch the fleshy fruit, a powerful force like a surging tide slammed him away. Chen Yang flew backwards several feet, fell heavily to the ground, and couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Seeing this, Ji Yuxuan's expression changed drastically. She waved the long whip in her hand, and the long whip, wrapped in fierce force, pounced towards the fleshy fruit like a dragon emerging from the sea. However, an invisible force, like an indestructible barrier, firmly blocked the long whip. It seems that a restrictive formation has been set up around this Dao fruit. Ji Yuxuan's face was gloomy, and her voice was cold. Chen Yang struggled to get up, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and stared intently at the fleshy fruit. At this moment, he noticed strange runes faintly visible next to the fleshy fruit. Senior sister, look at those runes. Perhaps breaking the runes will break the formation, Chen Yang said anxiously, pointing to the runes. Ji Yuxuan looked in the direction he was pointing and nodded slightly. I'm not good at deciphering formations, but I can break the formation with force. We must be quick. This formation was set up by Long Yinzi, and he should be able to sense it. After Ji Yuxuan finished speaking, the aura around her body instantly soared, and the light on the long whip in her hand shone brightly. She shouted loudly, and the long whip struck the invisible barrier fiercely like a bolt of lightning. The barrier vibrated violently, rippling in layers. Comma comma, comma comma, comma comma. At this time, on the battlefield, Long Yinzi and Yuzi cooperated tacitly, and the two simultaneously intensified their offensive. Long Yinzi wielded the long sword in his hand, sword energy crisscrossing, each sword energy seemed like a substance, sweeping towards Ying Moran with a world-destroying aura. Falling star sword, kill. Yuzi's profound power surged around him, the runes under his feet flickered, and he threw the three-legged giant cauldron out, emitting rays of light like shooting stars towards Ying Moran. Ying Moran, in the midst of this storm-like attack, gradually began to appear overwhelmed, and the body-protecting mist on his body had become thin under the combined attack of the two. He knew that if he didn't use his full strength at this time, he would be defeated. His eyes sharpened, and the aura around his body suddenly changed, and a mysterious power burst out from his body. His body made strange sounds, and as the last syllable was uttered, the sky changed color, and a large amount of black mist emanated from his body, and the light intertwined into characters, swirling in the sky. Shadow mist of death. Long Yinzi's face instantly turned extremely ugly when he saw this scene. At this moment, he felt that the formation he had set up on the strange Dao fruit had been touched. He was greatly surprised. That was the strange Dao fruit he had been planning for nearly 2 years. Weighing the pros and cons, he no longer lingered in the battle, and with a flash, he fled towards the refinement hall. With Long Yinzi's departure, the situation on the battlefield instantly changed from offensive to defensive. At this moment, Ying Moran, relying on the powerful force stimulated by the ultimate move, was in high spirits. He turned his target to Yuzi, his eyes flashing with cold killing intent. Yuzi couldn't help but feel a trace of fear in his heart when facing the drastically changed Ying Moran. But as a strong man of the Bu Palace, how could he easily retreat? He gritted his teeth and braced himself to meet him. However, Ying Moran's strength had greatly increased at this time, and Yuzi's resistance seemed somewhat weak. Ying Moran's attack came like a storm, and Yuzi's defense quickly disintegrated under her attack. In a few rounds, Yuzi was hit by Ying Moran, a mouthful of blood spurted out, and the whole person flew out like a kite with a broken string. Although Ying Moran's strength greatly increased after using this move, her aura also weakened after a while. Both sides' disciples took them away, leaving only the Star Sword sect and the Corpse Demon sect's disciples to fight. Comma comma, comma comma, comma comma. In the underground chamber, the stench permeated. The long whip in Ji Yuxuan's hand was like a dragon emerging from the sea, carrying fierce energy, repeatedly whipping at the restrictive formation that wrapped the strange Dao fruit. Each strike caused the formation to flicker with light, and cracks spread like spider webs. Boom! Under Ji Yuxuan's full blow, the formation finally collapsed and shattered. You're still too tender to break my formation and take this Dao fruit. At this moment, a sinister laughter echoed in the dark room like a ghost. Ji Yuxuan's face changed slightly, and she secretly cried out that something was wrong. How could Long Yinzi come so quickly? Before she finished speaking, a figure slowly emerged at the entrance of the dark room. It was Long Yinzi. None of you will want to leave alive. His white robe fluttered, and the long sword in his hand emitted a white light, and the sword seemed to have the wailing of wronged souls. Laughable, who do you think you are? Even the Star Sword sect's #1 true disciple wouldn't dare to say that to me. Ji Yuxuan's demeanor changed drastically, and she was not afraid at all. Long Yinzi's eyes showed a fierce light, like a hungry wolf pouncing on its prey. His figure flashed, and the long sword stabbed straight at Ji Yuxuan's throat. Ji Yuxuan did not flinch, her beautiful eyes flashed with cold light, and the long whip in her hand lashed back swiftly like a spirit snake. And Chen Yang's doppelganger immediately went to pick the strange Dao fruit, and just as he was about to get it, another formation appeared and bounced him away. Damn, there are still backhands. Ji Yuxuan gave Long Yinzi a very vicious look. Just a small trick, Long Yinzi said triumphantly. In an instant, another sword stabbed out. Chapter 35 The Curtain Rises. Clang! The blood-red whip collided with the long sword, sparks flew, and Zon energy surged. Both were completion palace realm experts fighting in a small, dark room. Many techniques were difficult to use, so they could only engage in close combat. Long Yinzi's swordsmanship was ruthless, each strike aimed at vital points. Ji Yuxuan's long whip danced, impenetrable, defending while seeking opportunities to counterattack. As the battle raged, the strange Dao fruit hanging on the bald tree suddenly emitted a bright light, dazzling the eyes. In the light, the runes on the surface of the Dao fruit flickered, as if telling ancient secrets. Immediately afterward, the Dao fruit trembled gently, and a fine crack appeared at the top, overflowing with a rich fragrance, the fragrance wrapped in majestic Zon energy. The crack expanded rapidly, and the flesh fell off like shattered jade, turning into starlight, converging into a more lustrous Dao fruit, slowly falling. Long Yinzi cursed inwardly upon seeing this, filled with regret. The timing was so unfortunate, maturing now, but fortunately, he had a backup plan. At this moment, he couldn't care less about tangling with Ji Yuxuan. He saw the Zon energy around his body surge violently, forcibly breaking through Ji Yuxuan's offensive, and lunged towards the falling Dao fruit. Just as Long Yinzi was about to grab the Dao fruit, a black shadow rushed out from the side like lightning. It was Chen Yang, who had been hiding in the dark. He seized the opportunity, exerted all his strength, and tried to intercept the Dao fruit. Long Yinzi glared, and with a wave of his long sword, a sword aura forced Chen Yang back. Chen Yang dodged to the side, but was still grazed by the sword aura, a bloody mark appearing on his chest, suffering serious injuries. Taking advantage of this gap, Long Yinzi grabbed the Dao fruit and stuffed it into his arms. Bloodthirst whip, extinction. Seeing this, how could Ji Yuxuan give up? She struck Long Yinzi with all her might. Long Yinzi was caught off guard and suffered this blow, spitting out a mouthful of blood. He immediately used his movement technique and ran wildly towards the exit of the dark room. Ji Yuxuan chased to the exit of the dark room, but saw that Long Yinzi had set up a barrier at the exit at some point. Ji Yuxuan whipped with all her strength, but the barrier remained motionless. Long Yinzi stood outside the barrier, blood dripping from the corner of his mouth, and sneered, "I have already obtained the Dao fruit today, don't waste your efforts." After saying that, he turned and disappeared into the darkness. Ji Yuxuan looked in the direction Long Yinzi left, her face full of unwillingness. Chen Yang covered his wound and walked to Ji Yuxuan's side. "Senior sister, we will remember this hatred and we will definitely get it back in the future." Ji Yuxuan gritted her teeth and nodded. After Long Yinzi obtained the Dao fruit, he left the pavilion and fled far away. A figure appeared, it was Chen Yang. In fact, Chen Yang in the pavilion was just another clone. And this was the real Chen Yang, at the 9th level of Gathering Profound, mastering the Sword of Annihilation. He stared at the direction Long Yinzi was leaving, a cold arc appearing at the corner of his mouth. With a wave of his arm, a blood coffin emitting a strange blood light appeared in his hand. The blood demon Dao soldier appeared, the curtain rose, and Lu Yuan's plan for the Dao fruit truly began. There seemed to be 5 clones in that direction, so let's begin. Chen Yang murmured to himself and quickly followed. Inside the pavilion, when Ji Yuxuan finally broke through the barrier, Long Yinzi had already fled, even abandoning the disciples of his own sect. To vent her anger, Ji Yuxuan immediately returned to the battlefield. Wherever her figure passed, the long whip was like a dragon overturning the river, stirring up a bloody storm. The disciples of the Star Sword sect were like fragile ants under her anger, and they collapsed one after another. The originally barely maintained defense line instantly crumbled, and the entire battlefield situation was completely changed by Ji Yuxuan's anger. Comma comma. Comma comma. Comma comma. In the sky above the jungle, Long Yinzi tried his best to fly through the air, without any intention of stopping. His expression was solemn. While flying, he hurriedly took out pills to restore Zon energy and heal injuries from his storage bag, and swallowed them without hesitation. As the pills entered his stomach, a warm force spread throughout his body, but he was still apprehensive and couldn't help but curse. Damn it, that G-demon woman's whip technique is so ruthless and tricky, I almost fell for it. No, I must return to the sect's area as soon as possible to ensure safety. At this moment, the burning pain on his back followed him like a shadow, as if countless needles were piercing him fiercely, making Long Yinzi realize that he had really underestimated Ji Yuxuan. Just as he was secretly annoyed, he suddenly heard a sharp sound of breaking through the air. Long Yinzi was shocked and looked sideways, only to see an ice spike flashing with a cold light flying like lightning. It was too late to dodge. Puff! The ice spike hit his back wound hard. Long Yinzi groaned and fell straight towards the jungle below. Damn it, it's actually a second-order ice thorn talisman. Long Yinzi climbed up from the ground in a mess, new injuries adding to old injuries, revealing a hideous wound, with blood gushing out. He gritted his teeth, endured the severe pain, and wanted to fly through the air again. However, before he could use his movement technique, a black shadow attacked like a ghost. Long Yinzi's eyes sharpened, and without thinking, he waved his long sword violently, and a fierce sword aura roared out. Crack! The man's head instantly separated from his body and rolled to the ground. But just as Long Yinzi thought the crisis was over, the corpse suddenly exploded violently without warning. Boom! The air surged and sand and rocks splashed. Although Long Yinzi made a defense in time, the powerful impact generated by the explosion still made his body sway and almost fall. The explosion was so powerful that the surrounding trees were instantly razed to the ground and turned into scorched earth. Immediately afterward, several figures flashed out from all directions like ghosts. Long Yinzi's face sank, and a trace of vigilance flashed in his eyes, death warriors. At this moment, he was carrying a strange Dao fruit, and he knew that the more entanglement he had, the more dangerous he would be. He didn't want to fight anymore, turned around and flew in another direction. All of this was the result of Lu Yuan's careful layout. For this plan, Lu Yuan can be said to have made a desperate bet and dispatched all his forces. Nearly 100 clones at the 8th level of Gathering Profound, like hunters hidden in the dark, were quietly ambushing around. These clones were skillfully controlled by the central clone, forming a tight net. Seeing Long Yinzi trying to escape to the north, the central clone immediately issued an order. Instantly, another ice spike flew out like a meteor. At the same time, several clones hidden in the dark rushed towards Long Yinzi without hesitation, and then self-destructed. The violent explosions rose one after another, and the fire soared into the sky. As clones in the Gathering Profound realm, although they could not fly, the many clones on the ground cooperated with each other, with a wide field of vision, and kept a close eye on Long Yinzi's every move. In this way, several attacks made the already injured Long Yinzi exhausted to deal with. He was shocked and angry, and really couldn't figure out who was secretly chasing him, and the other party didn't seem to have reached the completion palace realm, but had endless methods, which were unpredictable. At this moment, Long Yinzi discovered that the northwest direction seemed to be blocked by some kind of force, and it was too risky to rush over. After weighing the pros and cons, he gritted his teeth and decided to fly towards the swamp in the southeast. He was planning in his heart that he could detour back to the sect from there, and the swamp was sparsely populated, not easy to be discovered, and maybe he could get rid of the pursuit behind him. Chapter 36, The Exiled Immortal Revealed. In the southeast of the demon-subduing mystery sect, a tranquil swamp was shrouded in layers of misty vapor. Suddenly, a black shadow descended silently like a phantom. This person was entirely wrapped in black robes, their form hidden in darkness, revealing only a pair of eyes gleaming with a ghostly light. With a wave of their hand, a thunder-fire mystic talisman shot out like a shooting star, accurately plunging into the depths of the swamp. Instantly, firelight erupted in all directions, and an earth-shattering roar shattered the swamp's tranquility. A gigantic serpent demon, its body entwined with wisps of flame, burst out of the firelight. Its scarlet, vertical pupils were filled with fury as it lunged towards the black-robed figure like an arrow released from a bow. Seeing this, the black-robed figure calmly removed the hat concealing their face, revealing a face that was exactly the same as Long Yinzi's. Poof, poof, poof. 3 consecutive ice-spike talismans, like glittering, sharp blades, flew towards the second-ranked Meridian Palace Realm Serpent Demon. Wherever the ice-spike talismans passed, the air seemed to freeze, emitting a crackling sound. After launching the ice-spike talismans, the black-robed figure turned and used a movement technique to flee wildly. The serpent demon, struck by the ice-spike talismans, was instantly encased in a thick layer of ice, its movements becoming sluggish, and it was temporarily unable to catch up with the black-robed figure. As the ice gradually melted, the serpent demon let out an angry roar, its demonic aura surging, and it actually soared through the clouds in pursuit. At this moment, Long Yinzi had just been secretly plotted against and was falling from the sky in a disheveled state. In the instant he collided head-on with the black-robed figure, the black-robed figure detonated themselves without hesitation. Boom! With a deafening explosion, the powerful shockwave generated by the self-detonation spread outwards like a surging tide, smoke and dust billowing, obscuring the sky and sun. Although Long Yinzi barely managed to withstand the impact of the self-detonation with his profound cultivation and was not injured, before he could recover from the smoke and dust, he saw a Meridian Palace serpent demon exuding a terrifying aura flying towards him, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. Long Yinzi inwardly cried out that things were bad and immediately circulated his profound energy, intending to fly away from this place. However, the serpent demon tenaciously clung to Long Yinzi, the hatred revealed in its eyes. Long Yinzi thought to himself, his current situation was extremely unfavorable. If he blindly fled, those death warriors, who were like maggots attached to his bones, would definitely continue to pursue him, and might even expose himself. Just who is it? A few paltry profound gathering death warriors are not enough to pose a real threat to me. It seems this Meridian Palace serpent demon is their final trump card. HMPH, I'll eliminate it and see what other tricks the person in the shadows has. The anger in Long Yinzi's heart was completely ignited. A trace of determination flashed in his eyes as he held his long sword, pointing it directly at the serpent demon. Long Yinzi made a sword incantation, and the sword's body glowed with a dark blue light, like a deep, serene pool. As the light flickered, the sword's body instantly grew to a length of several dozen feet, like a towering giant sword. Starfall Earth. As Long Yinzi roared, the wind and clouds in the sky suddenly changed, as if countless stars were whistling and falling from the 9 heavens, crashing towards the serpent demon with earth-shattering momentum. The serpent demon was not afraid. Its gigantic body coiled in the air, spitting its long tongue, and emitting a series of low roars. It suddenly twisted its body, like a black flash of lightning, and charged straight towards Long Yinzi. Long Yinzi did not retreat but advanced, with the force to suppress mountains and rivers, like a black, sharp arrow, piercing straight towards the serpent demon's 7-inch vital spot. The serpent demon reacted extremely quickly, dodging nimbly, its long tail like a thick steel whip, carrying a powerful demonic force, and sweeping fiercely towards Long Yinzi. Long Yinzi dodged sideways, cleverly avoiding this blow. At this moment, the stars that were several dozen feet in size had already slammed into the serpent demon's body. Boom! With a loud noise, the serpent demon was struck by the stars, letting out a painful hiss. Its eyes instantly turned blood red, like two burning flames, and its demonic aura surged wildly. The serpent demon opened its bloody maw, and a stream of dark green venom spewed out like a fountain, sweeping towards Long Yinzi. Long Yinzi's expression was solemn. Instantly, a layer of light emitting a soft glow appeared in front of him, like an indestructible shield, blocking the venom's attack. The venom dripped onto the light screen, emitting a hissing sound and a pungent odor. Then, Long Yinzi's hands danced like phantoms, and countless sword energies shot out from the long sword in his hand, like a flock of whistling sharp swords, shooting towards the serpent demon. The serpent demon was unable to dodge, and its body was instantly slashed with deep wounds. Scarlet blood rained down, staining the swamp below. The serpent demon twisted its enormous body in pain, and the entire sky was stirred by it, the wind and clouds changing color, dark clouds gathering, and thunder rumbling. Long Yinzi seized the opportunity and leapt into the air like a black shooting star. He gathered all his strength at the tip of his sword, his profound energy surging wildly, as if to ignite the surrounding air. This was the Star Sword Sect Star-Severing Sword True Inheritance. As Long Yinzi roared, a dazzling light burst forth from the tip of his sword, like a brilliant shooting star, piercing straight into the serpent demon's head. The serpent demon let out a shrill scream, and its enormous body fell to the ground like a collapsing mountain peak, raising a cloud of dust that blotted out the sky. Having so cleanly killed the Meridian Palace serpent demon, Long Yinzi's transcendent and ethereal appearance was fully revealed, like an invincible great power descending upon the world. Even the mystic treasure long sword in his hand turned to ashes. He landed slowly. After a long period of flying through the air and several fierce battles, his profound energy was greatly depleted, and he was now in urgent need of replenishing it. Scanning the surroundings warily, Long Yinzi pondered to himself who was behind this elaborate plot. However, before he could recover, several ice shards, like glittering, sharp arrows, flew from different directions. At the same time, several figures rushed towards him rapidly. "You damned death warriors!" Long Yinzi gritted his teeth and cursed fiercely. Bang! 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 After throwing out mystic talismans, these figures detonated themselves without hesitation when they approached within a certain distance. The power generated by each self-detonation actually reached the strength of the Meridian Palace realm. For a time, explosions rang out one after another, and powerful shockwaves spread outwards like surging waves. This dense bombardment, if it were normal, Long Yinzi would still be able to deal with it easily, but now that his profound energy was severely depleted, he was already stretched thin in the face of such a fierce attack, and he was hit by the aftershocks of the explosion several times in a row. "Ah, damn it, so damn it!" Long Yinzi roared to the sky, his voice filled with anger and unwillingness. He endured the pain, circulated his profound energy, and soared into the air. But just as he flew into the air, he saw several thunder-fire talismans and ice-spike talismans, like shooting stars, attacking him. These were all second-rank mystic talismans, and their power was not to be underestimated. Helpless, Long Yinzi had no choice but to fall to the ground again. Just then, a figure appeared quietly. Their body exuded bursts of bloody aura, as if they were a Shira from hell. He suddenly threw a punch, aiming straight at Long Yinzi's face. Long Yinzi was unable to dodge and was hit squarely by this punch, his entire body flying backwards like a kite with a broken string. It turned out to be a Blood Demon Dao soldier clone, whose current realm had already reached the profound gathering completion stage. With its powerful strength, this clone possessed the ability to fight beyond its rank. Faced with Long Yinzi, who had exhausted his profound energy, it was already able to contend with him head-on. Long Yinzi's expression was solemn, knowing that he was in a desperate situation and had to find a way out. However, misfortune did not come singly. Chen Yang, wielding the Extinction of Righteousness sword art, had arrived here. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 37 Still no match for the conspiracy. Chen Yang's gaze was icy, a cold light flickering in his eyes as he slowly raised the dark longsword in his hand, emanating a gloomy aura, and pointed it directly at Long Yinzi. Long Yinzi's pupils shrank abruptly, instantly recognizing the person before him as the demonic disciple he had seen in the secret chamber, and a surge of hatred welled up within him. He gnashed his teeth and roared, "So, it's you, you beast. In that case, that slut Ji Yuxuan must be nearby as well. HMPH, she has some tricks up her sleeve, actually resorting to using so many assassins to besiege me." A sneer curled on Chen Yang's lips, his tone filled with disdain. "That's right, senior sister is hidden in the shadows. As long as we can eliminate a major threat like you, what does it matter how many assassins we use? There was no Ji Yuxuan. These words were obviously meant to deliberately disturb Long Yinzi's state of mind. Having said that, Chen Yang's figure moved like lightning, thrusting his sword swiftly, the blade bringing with it a fierce whistling sound. Long Yinzi's expression was solemn as he dodged to the side, nimbly avoiding this fierce attack like a phantom, while simultaneously producing a longsword in his hand, accurately blocking Chen Yang's blade. Clang! To Long Yinzi's surprise, Chen Yang, whom he could suppress with a single move in the secret chamber, was now like a completely different person, fighting him to a standstill. The blood demon also seized the opportunity, attacking like a hungry wolf pouncing on its prey, instantly plunging Long Yinzi into a predicament of being attacked from both front and back. Faced with such a scene, Long Yinzi showed no fear. He let out a loud shout, and the aura around him suddenly soared, a powerful aura spreading out from him like a surging tide. He was forcibly burning his own potential to increase his strength. Like a war god descending, he fought two opponents single-handedly, wielding his longsword so tightly that no wind could penetrate it, his swordsmanship extremely fierce, each strike containing immense power. Chen Yang was shocked, not expecting Long Yinzi to have such methods. In the moment of his slight distraction, Long Yinzi's sword flashed like lightning, and Chen Yang, unable to dodge in time, had a deep wound instantly slashed on his arm, blood spurting out. Immediately afterward, he pressed his advantage, another sword thrusting swiftly. At the critical moment, the blood demon hurriedly appeared, blocking this fatal blow for Chen Yang. Subsequently, several doppelgangers rushed forward, hugging Long Yinzi tightly like rabid dogs, instantly initiating self-destruction. A look of determination flashed in Long Yinzi's eyes, knowing that there was no retreat at this moment. He quickly gathered the last bit of Zon power and shouted, "Kill!" In an instant, Long Yinzi's body shone brightly, the longsword in his hand seemed to gather the power of the stars in the sky, and a dazzling sword energy soared into the sky, like a shooting star piercing the night sky, carrying the power to destroy the heavens and earth, slashing towards the self-destructing doppelgangers. Boom! The huge explosion resounded through the heavens and earth like thunder, as if the entire space was trembling. The intense shockwave spread out from the point of explosion, sending sand and stones flying and uprooting trees. Chen Yang and the blood demon had already retreated to a distance at lightning speed, and even Lu Yuan, whose consciousness had descended here, thought that Long Yinzi was dead when he saw this scene. Unexpectedly, in the rolling smoke and dust, a figure still stood proudly. Although Long Yinzi was disheveled, his clothes torn, and covered in blood, revealing an unyielding determination, he held a Zon talisman, forming a barrier around his body. As expected of a true disciple, but let's see how long you can last. The blood demon, whose body was wrapped in blood mist, actually uttered a self-murmuring sound. Immediately afterward, several more doppelgangers rushed towards Long Yinzi, initiating self-destruction again. After several repetitions, even the powerful barrier of the Zon talisman was blasted open. Even if Long Yinzi displayed the demeanor of an immortal, he could not withstand such a treacherous scheme. Then, the blood demon transformed into a blood mist again, condensing into a huge blood-red claw, grabbing fiercely towards Long Yinzi. In the end, Long Yinzi's head was forcibly clawed off by the blood claw, his eyes wide open until his death, unable to rest in peace. After everything had settled, Chen Yang stepped forward and picked up a storage bag from Long Yinzi's corpse. Then he left in a hurry. Absorbed the fate of a Bu Gong 3 supplement Zon cultivator, 10 points. First time killing a Bu Gong reward of 100 points of fate. In the strange blessed land. Oh, there's actually such an unexpected joy of a first kill. It's just that, for those damaged doppelgangers, this little compensation of fate points is really difficult to make up for the losses caused by their dissipation. Lu Yuan received this sudden information, and ripples of astonishment arose in his heart, a trace of complex emotion flashing in his eyes. Looking back at the long process of plotting for this Dao fruit, Lu Yuan's meticulous preparation and painstaking effort far exceeded the imagination of ordinary people. For this strange Dao fruit, he planned meticulously. In this whole year, he controlled the doppelgangers like a tireless explorer, delving deep into the surroundings of this ruin. In order to draw a map, he traveled between mountains and rivers, conducting a detailed survey of every inch of terrain. The peaks, valleys, and streams were all meticulously recorded on a specially made map, the dense annotations and symbols like a mysterious code, telling of his hardship and perseverance. In addition, Lu Yuan conducted a comprehensive investigation of the surrounding Bu Gong realm demon beasts, discovering a total of 6 Bu Gong realm Zon beasts. Based on Long Yinzi's possible escape routes, he carefully formulated several alternative plans. These plans were interconnected and complementary, showing his meticulousness. Observing the whereabouts of the Zon beasts day and night. Even losing many doppelgangers. Based on these hard-earned gains, he successfully figured out a set of ingenious strategies, effectively controlling the number of self-destructing doppelgangers. Moreover, the original plan required the self-destruction of 100 doppelgangers, but in the end, only 70-odd were consumed, leaving some doppelgangers. Each of these doppelgangers condensed Lu Yuan's fate points and effort. Their existence was like chess pieces secretly placed by Lu Yuan, ready to play a role at a critical moment. In addition to the Zon talisman obtained from the storage bag of the strong man's cave, Lu Yuan also put a lot of thought into it. Let the doppelgangers travel between the major market towns, searching everywhere for high-quality attack Zon talismans. He carefully examined each Zon talisman, studying its efficacy. Overall, this trip to plot for the Dao fruit was full of dangers. Although Lu Yuan prepared thoroughly, Ji Yuxuan's attitude towards the Dao fruit was still the key to swaying the situation. Ji Yuxuan's position and actions could cause the situation to change dramatically. Although the subsequent plans already had a general framework, they still needed to be flexibly adapted to the actual situation. If Long Yinzi intended to leave, if there was no help, he would inevitably fall into the assassination net carefully arranged by Lu Yuan. If he received help, Chen Yang's doppelganger lurking beside Ji Yuxuan would transmit the message in time, allowing them to continue to erupt in conflict, while the group of doppelgangers would be like mantises lurking in the dark, waiting for an opportunity to deliver a fatal blow to Long Yinzi. After a while, Chen Yang controlled the blood demon doppelganger and quietly returned to the strange blessed land. Immediately, he couldn't wait to open Long Yinzi's storage bag. The restrictions on this storage bag were quite ordinary. With the death of the owner, the restrictions dissipated on their own. With the restrictions dissipated, the storage bag slowly opened, and a strange light overflowed from it, carrying strands of mysterious aura, instantly filling the entire space. Lu Yuan leaned closer and saw a fleshy fruit lying quietly inside, the strange Dao fruit he had been planning for a long time and dreaming of. This fruit was shaped like a heart, its surface texture delicate, like a naturally carved work of art, exuding a faint fragrance, seemingly containing endless mysterious power. The fragrance lingered at the tip of his nose, making people feel elated, as if they could feel the powerful vitality contained within. In addition to the Dao fruit, there were a large number of Zon crystals in the storage bag, roughly estimated to be nearly 10,000 Zon crystals. In addition, there were several jade slips stored, the inheritance of the extremely powerful star-slaying sword technique, as well as several second-tier low-grade Zon swords. Lu Yuan controlled a doppelganger who had not cultivated the demonic Dao Zon technique and picked up the jade slip. In an instant, a vast sword intent rushed towards him, causing a burst of excitement in his heart. He could feel the ancient information contained in the jade slip, as if an unparalleled sword cultivator was standing in front of him, telling the true meaning of the sword. And in a corner of the storage bag, there was a letter. The restrictions on it were complex, the runes flickering, exuding a mysterious aura, seemingly concealing unknown secrets. Chapter 38 Harvest. This letter will be unsealed when I have a dispel technique in the future. For now, I'll refine this Dao fruit first. Lu Yuan's expression turned solemn as he retrieved the Dao fruit from his storage pouch. The fruit shimmered with a fleshy light, as if it contained endless creation. Weird blessed land, refine this Dao fruit, Lu Yuan murmured. Instantly, the strange and subtle auras in the air seemed to be drawn by some mysterious force, materializing like nimble wandering silk, and began to slowly swirl and surge around the Dao fruit. As time passed, the strange aura around the Dao fruit became increasingly dense, gradually condensing into a hazy halo. Within that halo, countless ancient and mysterious runes seemed to flicker in and out of existence. Suddenly, the Dao fruit began to tremble violently without warning, as if about to break free from some kind of restraint. Immediately afterward, an extremely dazzling light burst out from the Dao fruit, like a brilliant meteor, illuminating the ground and making this space as bright as day. Refining Dao fruit successful. Unlocked soul-splitting teleportation. Obtained a soul-splitting slot. Upon seeing this, Lu Yuan was overjoyed and quickly asked, "What is soul-splitting teleportation?" In the weird blessed land, a mysterious and ethereal message came leisurely. A split soul can open a teleportation channel in the weird blessed land, teleportation under interference-free conditions. Lu Yuan's heart trembled, and he thought to himself, such a divine ability, if used properly, could change the world. If it is used in conjunction with different split bodies for transmission, perhaps it can traverse endless distances. At this moment, another message came from the weird blessed land. This teleportation takes 3 breaths to sense and can only be performed within the sensing range of the weird blessed land. Lu Yuan's heart stirred. He didn't expect that it was different from his main body and had prerequisite conditions. He hurriedly asked, what exactly is the sensing range of the weird blessed land? Currently, the sensing range is a radius of 3,000 miles centered on the weird blessed land. Lu Yuan nodded slightly, pondering to himself, this range has already exceeded the corpse demon sect, the shadow death sect, and the star sword sect. No wonder I haven't noticed the so-called range all along. However, just as Lu Yuan was pondering, the central split body sitting on the ground began to twitch violently without warning. At times, he would laugh wildly at the sky, his laughter mad and eerie, and at other times, he would prostrate on the ground and cry bitterly, his cries filled with grief and despair, appearing completely insane. Upon seeing this, Lu Yuan was not too surprised on his face. After all, in the previous siege of Dragon Echo, this mind division technique was the most crucial core technique. In order to defeat the enemy in one fell swoop, the central split body over-operated the mind division technique, simultaneously controlling hundreds of split bodies with extraordinary will, including nearly 100 hidden split bodies planted in the Star Sword sect and the Corpse Demon sect. These hidden split bodies were usually hidden extremely deeply, providing Lu Yuan with many key pieces of information. But this time, the overload operation pushed the burden on the central split body to the limit. At this moment, most of the hidden split bodies in those sects had stopped moving, as if they were stuck in a dead state, without any vitality. Lu Yuan knew that the situation was critical, so he decisively used the unique talent bestowed by the weird blessed land. With a calm expression, he slowly walked to the insane central split body, reached out his palm, steadily grabbed his head, and shouted coldly, "Reset." In an instant, a mysterious and gentle force poured into the central split body from Lu Yuan's palm. The central split body, which had been driven mad, gradually stopped twitching, and the manic laughter and sorrowful crying also came to an abrupt end, his expression gradually returning to calm. Immediately afterward, Lu Yuan's mind moved, controlling a prepared spare split body to come forward. This split body was the backup choice for the central split body. Lu Yuan carefully extracted the split soul from the central split body and then injected it into this spare split body. The split body after going mad needed to recuperate, but the control of the hidden split bodies was imminent and could not be delayed in the slightest, so the spare split body was activated. Under Lu Yuan's command, this central split body, which had taken over the split soul, perked up and continued to shoulder the responsibility of controlling nearly 100 hidden split bodies. After this incident, Lu Yuan deeply realized the magical use of this mind division technique, and a plan arose in his heart to use the newly acquired split soul to control split bodies as well. Under Lu Yuan's manipulation, those controlled split bodies were like AI smart brains, not only able to maintain the most basic actions and judgment abilities but also faintly carrying some traces of humanity. It's just that, at first glance, these split bodies seemed slightly dull, and their actions and gestures revealed a sense of clumsiness. After the new split soul was born, Lu Yuan did not hesitate to spend 100 destiny points to use the weird blessed land's replication talent to allow this split body with a split soul to master the mind division technique. In this way, his 2 central split bodies simultaneously controlled nearly 100 hidden split bodies. After a series of operations, the control effect was significantly improved. Not only was the manipulation more handy, but also the risk of problems was greatly reduced, and the potential hidden dangers caused by relying solely on one central split body were also greatly alleviated. Lu Yuan nodded in satisfaction and thought to himself, not bad, not bad. In this way, perhaps I can try to let the split bodies cultivate the cultivation methods on their own. If these split bodies can cultivate on their own, not only can the problem of cultivation improvement be solved, but also the corpse demon sect can be avoided from paying too much attention. It is really a win-win situation. For a long time, these split bodies have relied on the cultivation points provided by hundreds of split bodies in the corpse refining platform to improve their realm. In this process, the excessive consumption of mysterious blood has aroused the suspicion of the corpse demon sect. Previously, several elders in the corpse demon sect had secretly noticed the abnormal consumption of cultivation points on the corpse refining platform under their command and often gathered together to discuss this matter. It was only because there was no conclusive evidence that they did not take action. Comma comma. Comma comma. Comma comma. The Star Sword sect has always been full of talents and has strict rules. Zan San, a disciple who had only entered the sect a year ago. When he first entered the sect, he was just an unknown menial disciple in the Good Medicine Hall, diligently working in the medicine hall every day, from collecting herbs, drying herbs to making medicine, every step was done meticulously. With this persistence and hard work, he finally passed the assessment a month ago and became an outer disciple. However, the peaceful sect life did not last long. On this day, a rapid and sharp alarm suddenly sounded within the sect. Immediately afterward, the sect quickly gathered all the disciples to the martial arts field. Several elders stood on the high platform with solemn expressions, their eyes revealing a hint of severity and determination. After a strict mind questioning through the copper mirror, the disciples who passed received orders and boarded the prepared flying boats. Zan San stepped onto the flying boat with the crowd, his heart full of doubts and trepidation. As the flying boat slowly rose into the air, Zan San gradually learned the reason for this operation from conversations with the surrounding disciples. It turned out that Dragon Echo, a true disciple of the Star Sword sect, had unfortunately been killed within the remains of the demon-subduing mysterious sect. After investigation by the sect, all clues pointed to Ji Yuxuan, the Yaonu of the Corpse Demon sect. The Star Sword sect naturally wanted to go and crusade against her, and the leader was Dragon Echo's own brother, the second true disciple, Dragon Yanzi. Zan San was also incorporated into the team, and Dragon Yanzi also vowed to kill Ji Yuxuan and avenge Dragon Echo. Chapter 39 Punishment. Damn it, the Star Sword sect's counterattack is so swift. Ji Yuxuan suddenly felt the Zan power in the distant horizon surge like an angry tide. It had only been a few days since the Corpse Demon sect's great victory in the ruins of the demon-subduing Zan sect, and this place was now the Corpse Demon sect's hidden stronghold. Logically, the Star Sword sect shouldn't know about it. The newcomers were the latest batch from the Star Sword sect, led by the second true disciple, Long Yanzi. He wore a crimson robe, and his body was surrounded by surging flames of spiritual power, like a volcano about to erupt, scorching and violent. The Corpse Demon sect disciples were instantly thrown into disarray, unable to resist and fleeing. Ji Yuxuan quickly boarded the flying boat, realizing in her heart that there were spies from the righteous path here. "Senior sister, I'll stay behind to lure the enemy," Chen Yang said with a determined expression. Ji Yuxuan's expression was indifferent. After a moment's hesitation, she coldly said, "If you can return alive, you will be richly rewarded." With that, a wave of Zan power knocked Chen Yang off the flying boat. In the air, Chen Yang spun as lightly as a swallow, instantly drawing the long sword from his waist, its blade gleaming with a cold light. Like a black meteor, he charged towards the pursuing Star Sword sect disciples. In an instant, sword energy surged in all directions, cleaving through the sky like bolts of white silk, temporarily managing to block some of the pursuers. However, Long Yanzi remained unmoved. His eyes were fixed on Ji Yuxuan, his killing intent flowing like a tangible substance. The flames of spiritual power beneath his feet rapidly condensed into a Zan cloud, carrying his body as he continued to pursue the flying boat. Ji Yuxuan was on like a ghost. During the chase, Long Yanzi simultaneously controlled the flying boat and cast Zan techniques, his hands rapidly forming seals in the air. A Zan technique was unleashed, whistling towards Ji Yuxuan's flying boat. As the Corpse Demon sect's flying boat fled in panic, dense meteorites suddenly rained down from the sky, pelting the flying boat. Accompanied by an earth-shattering roar, the flying boat was instantly struck by the meteorites, erupting in a dazzling blaze. In an instant, debris scattered like shooting stars, and a scorching shockwave surged outwards. Ji Yuxuan's expression changed abruptly, and she emerged from the heart of the explosion like a ghost, continuing to flee. The surviving disciples also used their respective movement techniques to scatter and escape. Ji Yuxuan fled into a valley, which was quiet all around, with only the wind whistling. Just as she breathed a sigh of relief, a surge of scorching spiritual power rushed towards her face. Looking up, Long Yanzi had already blocked the entrance to the valley like a demon god, the flames around him painting the valley entrance red. "Ji Yuxuan, you killed my younger brother Long Yanzi. Today, I will repay that blood debt." Long Yanzi's eyes were bloodshot, his face full of anger, and his hatred permeated the air. Ji Yuxuan was initially startled, then sneered, "Long Yanzi's death has nothing to do with me. Stop talking nonsense." Long Yanzi no longer wasted words, forming a hand seal with one hand and chanting an obscure incantation. A 2-jong tall fire dragon appeared out of thin air, roaring as it pounced on Ji Yuxuan, burning the air and distorting the space wherever it passed. Ji Yuxuan's expression was solemn. She waved her long whip, and a blood wall exuding a strange aura rose up. The blood wall collided with the giant dragon. Chi. Blood water evaporated into a blood mist. Immediately afterwards, Ji Yuxuan charged towards Long Yanzi like black lightning, her long whip creating afterimages as it lashed out, the space at the tip of the whip rippling. Long Yanzi showed no weakness, meeting the attack with a barrage of fist shadows like a storm. Zon power surged in the valley, light flashed, and the roar was deafening. The figures of the two were sometimes visible and sometimes hidden in the Zon power storm. After a few exchanges, Ji Yuxuan seized an opportunity, and her long whip lashed towards Long Yanzi's throat like a spirit snake. Long Yanzi crossed his arms, and flame Zon power instantly condensed into a shield to block it. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Ji Yuxuan used the corpse demon sect's secret technique, her body surrounded by blood mist, transforming into blood mist and disappearing. Long Yanzi searched everywhere without success, and roared angrily at the sky, the roar echoing in the valley for a long time. Corpse Severance Peak. Ji Yuxuan returned and went straight to the Corpse Lord Hall. The candlelight in the hall flickered, the light and shadows dancing eerily on the walls, and an invisible pressure rushed towards her. The sect leader sat high above, wearing a black robe with dark red runes embroidered on the hem, seemingly flowing faintly. His gaze was as cold as ice, staring intently at Ji Yuxuan, as if trying to see through her. Ji Yuxuan bowed slightly and respectfully said, "Sect leader, in this battle of the ruins, although we have gone through hardships, we have also made some discoveries. That strange Dao fruit appeared in the world, and we originally had a chance to obtain it, but Long Yanzi took the lead. However, Long Yanzi, who later came in pursuit, revealed that Long Yanzi had already been killed." The sect leader raised his eyebrows slightly, a complex look flashing in his eyes. After pondering for a moment, he slowly said, "Long Yanzi is dead. That can be considered an unexpected delight. It's just a pity that we don't know who did it, or where that Dao fruit has gone. Moreover, in this ruins war, the sect has lost many disciples. Do you know your crime?" The sect leader's voice was low and cold, as if it came from the 9 nether hells. Ji Yuxuan's heart trembled, and she hurriedly knelt on one knee, saying with a serious expression, reporting to the sect leader, "This subordinate believes that there may be an internal spy at work in this operation. Otherwise, how could the Star Sword sect so accurately strike at us, and how could so many of our arrangements have been discovered by them?" The sect leader frowned tightly, snorted coldly, and a hint of anger flashed in his eyes. "HMPH, even if there really is an internal spy, as the person in charge of this operation, you are also to blame. However, considering that your information was accurate, I will not punish you by taking away the Smiling Spring Hall's profits, but will instead punish you by having you seclude yourself in the Joy Union Hall for 3 months to reflect on your mistakes." Ji Yuxuan's heart was full of unwillingness. She bit her lip and continued, "Sect leader, this subordinate is not shirking responsibility. It's just that the losses this time are too heavy. If we don't find the internal spy, the sect may face even greater crises in the future." The sect leader was silent for a long time, his gaze sweeping over Ji Yuxuan before slowly saying, "What you say is not without reason. Do you have any suspects in mind?" Ji Yuxuan thought for a moment, a hesitant look on her face. This subordinate dares not speculate. However, in this ruins war, the Star Sword sect seemed to have known about our actions long in advance, prepared to defend against us, and even notified UZ of the Medicine Flower Valley to come. There must be something strange about this. The sect leader nodded slightly, a cold glint flashing in his eyes. "I will investigate this matter myself. You may go into seclusion. Sect leader, please give me a chance to investigate the hidden spy. I want to tear him to pieces." "Granted, but it cannot affect your punishment. Yes, disciple can investigate even in the Joy Union Hall." Ji Yuxuan thanked the sect leader, slowly stood up, and turned to leave. Her back looked somewhat lonely in the swaying candlelight. 5 more days passed. On this day, sunlight filtered through the mottled leaves, scattering in a quiet courtyard on Blood Demon Peak. True disciple demoness Ji Yuxuan summoned Chen Yang's clone here. Chen Yang stepped into the courtyard and respectfully saluted. "Senior sister, what is the matter for summoning me here?" Ji Yuxuan raised her hand slightly, signaling Chen Yang to rise, her eyes carrying a hint of scrutiny as she asked, "Not bad, you're still alive. Although you didn't obtain the strange Dao fruit this time, your contribution is not small. I originally wanted to reward you well, but unfortunately, I have been punished by the sect leader, so your reward is naturally gone as well. This junior's heart is true to senior sister, rewards are not important. Good, it's not in vain that I cultivated you. You have always been my confidant. I order you to secretly investigate the identity of the demon sect's hidden spy. This matter is of great importance, so you must not be careless. If you complete it well, there will naturally be rewards. A golden light decree flew over. Chen Yang's expression turned stern. He accepted the decree and knelt on one knee, saying firmly, "Senior sister, rest assured, this subordinate will definitely not fail in his mission." After speaking, he accepted the order and left. In the courtyard, only Ji Yuxuan was left alone in thought, the breeze blowing, stirring her hair. Chapter 40 Just some Yang Yuan. In the corpse demon sect, the decrees of true disciple held authority second only to the various peak lords and hall masters. Ji Yuxuan ordered Chen Yang to investigate the hidden spies of the righteous path, and this decree became the sword of Damocles in Chen Yang's hands. Chen Yang wore an arrogant expression. From the moment he received the order to investigate the spies of the righteous path, he had his own plans. Rather than sincerely investigating, it was more like he wanted to use the decree to intimidate others and take the opportunity to settle scores with those who had offended him in the past. The cliffs were towering, the ancient trees were reaching for the sky, and the peaks were shrouded in mist and clouds. A small path wound its way down the peak, leading directly to the servants' quarters. Chen Yang followed the path, and soon arrived at the servants' quarters. He saw a flurry of activity, with many servant disciples coming and going, each busy with their own tasks. The office was where the elders and managing disciples worked every day. Elder Ma was sitting at his desk, frowning slightly, dealing with some tedious matters. Chen Yang swaggered in with two inner disciples from the joyful Union Hall. Elder Ma looked up, his eyes scrutinizing Chen Yang like knives, his tone full of displeasure. "You are an inner disciple of the joyful Union Hall, what brings you to the servants' quarters?" He had always suspected that his nephew, Ma Debi, had died at Chen Yang's hands, so naturally he didn't have a good attitude towards Chen Yang. Chen Yang crossed his arms, a sneer on his face, and slowly took out the decree, waving it. "Elder Ma has misunderstood. This disciple is here to investigate the hidden spies of the righteous path, as ordered by the true disciple. This servant's quarters is a mixed bag, who can guarantee that there are no spies sent by the righteous path?" Elder Ma's brow furrowed, a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes, and he snorted coldly, "Humph, inner disciple, you can't just accuse good people at will. Without solid evidence, how can you make such unfounded statements?" Chen Yang took a step forward, lowered his voice, and a hint of ruthlessness flashed in his eyes. "Elder Ma, I see that you look flustered and your behavior is suspicious. Could it be that you are the spy?" Elder Ma's face turned pale instantly, both shocked and angry. You must not slander me. I have been wholeheartedly serving the sect, how could I do such a treacherous thing?" Chen Yang did not let him off, but instead laughed, but the smile was tinged with a hint of coldness. "If that's the case, then I'll ask you some questions, and you'd better answer truthfully. If there is even half a lie, Elder Ma was extremely annoyed, but looking at the decree in Chen Yang's hand, he couldn't explode, so he could only suppress his anger and secretly ponder how to deal with this sudden slander. The reason Chen Yang wanted to make trouble for Elder Ma was firstly to avenge his previous grudges, and secondly because his managing clone was in a difficult situation here. Usually, Elder Ma often made things difficult for him under various pretexts, which seriously affected the progress of the clone's cultivation into the refined corpse Dao platform. Chen Yang narrowed his eyes and slowly said, "Elder Ma, what have you been busy with in the past month?" Elder Ma took a deep breath, trying to calm himself down. "I have been dealing with the affairs within the sect, from the allocation of servants to the distribution of materials, nothing is too small, and there are no other abnormalities." Chen Yang sneered. "Oh. Then do you know about the exposure of the sect's stronghold in the demonic subjugation sect's ruins battlefield? As far as I know, the leak of this news was very strange, and you have been frequently contacting the outside world recently. Could there be any connection between them?" As the elder of the servants' quarters, it was normal to go out to practice, buying servant disciples, but Chen Yang wanted to make things difficult for him with this point. Elder Ma's eyes widened, both angry and anxious. "Chen Yang, what do you mean? I don't know anything about the exposure of the stronghold. Frequent contact with the outside world is the job of every servant elder. You are talking nonsense and deliberately slandering me." Although the elders of the servants' quarters had the same status as the inner disciples, Elder Ma really had no way of knowing such confidential news as the exposure of the stronghold. Chen Yang pressed on, No, you know, it was you who revealed the stronghold to the righteous path. The evidence is conclusive, and you still want to quibble. Elder Ma trembled with anger. You are talking nonsense, it's simply unreasonable. Chen Yang's face darkened. Elder Ma, it seems that you are not willing to cooperate. Then don't blame me for being rude, you should come with us. As a former leader, Chen Yang felt no burden in falsely accusing Elder Ma and killing him. After saying that, the two inner disciples of the Joyful Union sect stepped forward directly, wanting to subdue Elder Ma. Elder Ma struggled desperately, shouting, "You are slandering me, I want to appeal to the sect leader. I have been working hard for the sect, how can I be framed like this by you?" Chen Yang remained unmoved, sneering, "The sect leader has no time to care about you, it's not too late to talk when you get there. When the time comes, someone will convict you." When Elder Ma thought that if he was taken back to the Joyful Union Hall, he would definitely be in great danger. In the demonic sect, it has always been better to kill the wrong person than to let go of any suspected traitor. Fear instantly enveloped him, and his tone became unconsciously humble. "Lord Chen Yang, it's really not me. I am loyal to the sect, please let me go." However, Chen Yang turned a deaf ear. In desperation, Elder Ma made up his mind and used his Zan technique. The spiritual power around him surged, and he suddenly knocked the inner disciples of the Joyful Union Hall who came to capture him flying out. As an elder, he had already cultivated to the 7th level of Jushuan, which was not much different from the cultivation of the inner disciples. Dare to resist, Elder Ma is undoubtedly a spy of the righteous path, kill him. Chen Yang shouted angrily, his eyes full of killing intent. After the inner disciples of the Joyful Union Hall who were knocked flying stabilized their bodies, they did not hesitate to press on again. Chen Yang also quickly drew out a dark long sword, the sword body flashing with a cold light. When Elder Ma saw this sword, his eyes instantly turned red, as if ignited by anger. "So it was you who killed my nephew, give me your life." After saying that, he also took out his long sword and attacked Chen Yang recklessly. Chen Yang shook his head. Now that he had reached the Jushuan completion, he saw his figure as fast as lightning, and he thrust out a sword. His sword moves were fierce, with an indomitable momentum. The surrounding air seemed to be torn apart by this sword, making a sharp whistling sound. This is the Extinction Righteousness Sword, the last move, Absolute Awakening. Elder Ma's head was separated from his body, blood spurted out, and his body slowly fell down. Dot 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 dot. Dot 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 dot. Dot 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 dot. Inside the Joyful Union Hall. "Chen Yang, what exactly are you doing? Why are you using your position for personal gain, using the name of investigating the spies of the righteous path to deal with Elder Ma?" Ji Yuxuan frowned slightly and questioned. Chen Yang eagerly defended, "Senior sister, I really didn't use my position for personal revenge. You don't know, I have been secretly observing recently and found that Elder Ma's behavior is very strange. He has been going out frequently recently and his behavior is suspicious. After thinking about it, I really think he is highly suspicious, so I took him down. Everything is for the safety of the sect." While speaking, the decree representing the authority of the true disciple, as if guided by an invisible force, slowly flew back to Ji Yuxuan's hand. Ji Yuxuan gently held the decree, her eyes sizing Chen Yang up and down, as if judging the truth of his words. After a moment, she sighed slightly, her expression softened a little, and said, "Forget it, let's end this matter here. Don't investigate anymore, just focus on your cultivation next." After saying that, she waved her jade hand, and a jade slip emitting a soft light flew towards Chen Yang. Chen Yang subconsciously reached out to catch it, looking puzzled. "This is a dual cultivation method that I bestow upon you," Ji Yuxuan said lightly. Chen Yang was really taken aback, and picked up the jade slip with suspicion, slowly injecting spiritual power into it to check the information inside. As the information emerged in his mind, his face instantly became extremely ugly, as uncomfortable as if he had swallowed a fly. It turned out that this so-called technique was actually the cauldron cultivation secret, which was a cauldron technique specifically used to cultivate superior Yang Yuan. Chen Yang stammered, "Senior sister, what does this mean?" Ji Yuxuan did not directly answer his question, but tilted her head slightly, staring at Chen Yang with a smile that was not a smile, and asked, "What, are you unwilling?" Chen Yang's heart was like a stormy sea, and he instantly understood Ji Yuxuan's true purpose in promoting him before. Junior brother is willing. Good, that's right. From today onwards, you must go to the Laughing Spring Hall 3 times a day to practice dual cultivation with others. But senior sister, I am now at the Jushuan completion. If I rashly practice dual cultivation, the spiritual power in my body will be full and overflow, and I will inevitably explode and die. That's why I asked you to practice this cauldron cultivation secret. This technique can cleverly transform your excess cultivation into Yang Yuan. When the time comes, you and I will practice dual cultivation again. Your cultivation will not decrease, and I only need some Yang Yuan, right? Yes, junior brother understands. At this moment, Chen Yang's heart was full of bitterness and unwillingness, but he could only break his teeth and swallow them. Thank you for watching. Continue exploring the fascinating world of Chinese novels with us. Hit that subscribe button on Chinese Novel Audiobook to stay updated with our latest stories, and never miss out on a great listen.